the greatest game I've ever witnessed, but it was fun nonetheless. Eric, good to have you on board. I was with Robin at the start. You're in the Isle of Man. I'm in Hilversum, Holland. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm hoping for blood. I'm coming on for just the fourth game, the gap,
Yes.
and but I think it's Dingley Ren's best shot at taking this match. Yeah, sir. He's had a couple. Well, he had one extremely shaky game that he was on his way to losing his last
Yeah.
white, and he's got something to prove today.
Yeah. But why do you say today I mean, you see Levon as being somehow a big favorite, something in the tie breaks, because Ding has not lost a single game in the whole competition. And he's had a couple of tie breaks to go with that record.
No, it's true. I would just probably pick Levon in tiebreaks because he has more experience overall, and uh, in this World Cup, Levon has been beaten, and he has
Yes.
also been in a must-win situation. So I just feel like he's warmed up in all facets of the World Cup, and that's better than, I mean, yes, you can be undefeated and have a few escapes that maybe were even out of your control, which I thought was sort
Yeah.
of the case a couple days ago. So I just have that feeling. There's a bit of it's almost good to have a loss in some cases. That you've cut yourself
Wakes you
and
up, huh?
wakes you up. So I don't know. I think Ding can put on pressure today with White. I mean, it should be big advantage. The final game you have White. If you do make it to the fourth game tied 1.5, 1.5, I
Yeah.
think it's sort of an obligation that to go to push it.
Right. Okay, let's push it. The players have been playing very, very quickly. This Rogozin variation. I used to play this a little bit myself as black. I tended, when I was playing a Queen's Gambit Decline, to put my bishop on e7, but this putting the bishop on b4 and playing some very double-edged positions also appealed to me as well. Let's take it from the top, Eric. No Catalans today. Knight f3, everything was grooving towards a Catalan, but instead came knight c3 and not g3. Okay, bishop b4, bishop g5. This is all standard stuff. e4. Now, h6 is a little bit. Has that become, let's say, the modern treatment? Because in the past, I think everybody played, I don't know, c5, bishop takes c4, takes queen a5 check, those lines.
Yeah,
Well, not queen a5 check, but I remember looking at these positions at length. After c5, bishop takes c4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, takes on c3 check,
yep. Sorry.
or yeah,
No, no, no.
one of those. Either way, I'm not even sure which is the most, and this move order, yeah. And I was the second of Jan Timman in his 1993 FIDE World Championship match against Karpov. And for some strange reason, Jan was really attracted to these lines as black.
Yeah. This is still played. This is still played
Yes,
sometimes. I forgot the theory. I've seen. There's been some games.
I,
I would.
yeah,
Yeah. It hasn't
I
fallen out of fashion. I can say that.
no, no.
Yeah.
But this h6 move, I kind of associated a little bit, mostly, I think, with Vladimir Kramnik. And in the old days, we thought, okay, takes on c4. White has a development edge. He should be a little bit better. But Kramnik, as we know, is great at neutralizing his opponent's initiative. And White has been having a very hard time proving that this is sound.
Yeah. No,
And if you could go back for a moment to
sure.
the move bishop b4, yeah, bishop g5. No, that's okay. I think that there's a move order that Levon was playing as white. Instead of the yeah, bishop. Yeah, it was something. No, I guess it's I guess it's a different move order altogether. On move, what am I thinking, Eric? It's on move four, right? Black takes on c4 instead of bishop b4. Takes on c4, e4, bishop b4, knight, bishop takes c4, knight takes e4, castles. Isn't this a sacrifice, a line that Levon,
Plays as
amongst
white.
many other? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he had a crushing win I remember against Vichy many years ago. I think it was like a 20 move win at the in
right,
a period when he was racking up a lot of wins. Yeah, he's played this, which is right down his alley, right? Sacrificing a
right,
pawn for the initiative, and
yeah.
getting some nice kingside pressure.
And I remember a game, I think it was Veselin Topalov versus Caruana, where it was a rapid event uh, in St. Louis, where Topalov sacrificed a piece and just like crushed him in, coffee house style. It was wonderful. Anyway, that's in case of four d4, d takes c4, but Levon's move order was bishop b4. So restore the current position. Yeah,
Magnus has been playing this move order, yeah. So if I'm gonna think about who's been playing this, I think
yeah,
It looks like I'm pretty sure this is what Magnus was employing, and
okay,
people were actually playing this as white against them, and the result was a quick draw in quite a few games.
okay. And I'm assuming that white plays this 11 knight e4 because queen takes d4 is nothing, right? That should be pretty um, safe for black. Queen takes or knight c6. It doesn't look like anything to me.
No, no. If Black can develop the knight with tempo and sort of have the two bishops, it's I don't. White's a few moves away from getting some sort of ideal setup with the rooks developed. This bishop probably wants to be on d3, since h6
Right,
has been played. You want your queen and bishop on the same diagonal. It's not an attacking position yet, so no, it's
clear.
you can't be
Yeah.
giving Black too many tempi.
Easy play. Easy play
Mm.
like that. So knight e4, cd4, queen e2, bishop d7. That was played very quickly. What was the idea behind bishop d7? And again, I'm assuming that all of this is the latest and greatest
Yeah.
in opening theory. If black tries to be stubborn and plays knight c6 and, clings to his extra pawn, not that he can necessarily hold it, but is white just going to play rook d1 and a3 and just say, I have great comp for the pawn?
I think so. Rook d1 a3
Yeah, something like that.
seems
Because
reasonable.
black still has a problem with his queen side. The bishop on c8 needs life. Okay, so that's why I understand bishop d7 now. I'm warming up to that move.
You're warming up, so let me play this move. Let's see the difference.
Yeah, what is the exact difference? I guess I get to play queen h4 in some position. I
I
assume he wants to play bishop c6.
I was thinking queen b6
Okay,
would
queen
be played
b6.
maybe.
Yeah, that looks very logical. And after rook takes d4, bishop c6? Is
Yeah,
that the big plan?
maybe bishop c6, and that you can develop the knight here. But
Well, careful. I'll play rook d1 just to stop you from developing the knight
well,
there.
the more I look at it, I don't think I should be playing bishop c6. I'm really asking
Right.
for some sort of horrors here.
Bad.
Knight
Yeah, knight
f6.
f. It
Check. I'm
could
trying to find. Well, I think
it could
it's
be very, very, very bad for black suddenly.
yes.
Yeah,
I don't like what I have allowed.
no. So let's go back a bit.
That's a naked king.
It sure feels that way. So let's see. So you're saying
Well, I'm trying to
queen?
figure out why bishop
Yeah.
d7 is the move order because every other move looks like a transposition, right?
Well, I thought his idea might be bishop c6, and in case of knight takes d4, queen h4 looks a little weird, but
Hmm.
like knight takes. I'm assuming knight takes c6, knight takes c6 offers nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knight back. It feels
It's concrete. I guess. I guess
yeah,
Levon has something here. Maybe it's bishop
right.
c5 because you wouldn't want to give white
Too many
targets,
tempi.
right?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
maybe bishop c5 is pushing the knights
Right.
back in a way you sort of want something like this. And the bishops are bishops on c6 and
They,
b6 are really well placed.
they're looking great. Yeah. The knight on g3 less so.
No, yeah, that's for sure. Um, bishop d7. Yeah, the Ragosin's one of the few openings I haven't um, ex-
Studied.
experimented with so much. Well,
Uh-huh.
I lost a few games as white,
Really?
um, but as black, not so much. Yeah, I this line was in it's out of fashion now. But I was playing queen a4 check, knight c6, and bishop g5, and going into this line.
Right.
And I think it was even Levon himself who maybe scored a win in this line when it was already considered okay for black. Somebody beat Vichy here in a Zurich or some big event, but
Right.
white gives up the bishop pair, and in the long run, not a huge fan of the chances, but it's very easy to play. At least
Right.
that's one of the benefits you take here. You play e3 and it's easy, but I in the long run I started to dislike my chances. I'm looking at this position, yeah, so and I'm starting to maybe have a recollection that maybe
Uh-huh.
white plays bishop d3, knight g3, and tries to not even go for the
Queen
pawn.
e4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm starting to that's starting to crop up here.
The, is this the game position, by the way?
Yes.
Uh-huh. He did. So bishop. So I guess knight c6 and bishop d7 were interchangeable moves.
Yep.
Okay. So knight c6 and sorry, you were saying that white can just leave the pawn on d4 for the time being and maybe play bishop d3 and get
Well,
your battery and checkmate.
yeah, it seems to me the lack of exchanges would pose problems to black's coordination here.
Okay.
That if the knights a pair of knights are off the board, I put the bishop on c6. I'm super happy. If I
Right.
can trade that bishop on b4 for something, I should be
Al- also
pretty
happy.
also happy. Should be an easy to play position
Yeah.
for black. But if white keeps pieces on the board, you got to do something with his knight on c6.
Right.
Because otherwise, white's going to play bishop d3, maybe
Yeah.
move the knight to g3, and
Right.
just get to induce weaknesses. Where and d4 will still be weak. I could definitely see this bishop on c4 rerouting to a square like e4, for example, while
Yeah.
still retaining pressure and just not.
Yeah.
So he's gone knight g3. This is sort of a harmonious setup. I'm starting to see, yeah, sir, with bishop d3, queen e4.
Exactly. So not recapture the pawn. It was funny because yesterday Levon had played this pawn sacrifice d4 in a bishops of opposite color middle game, and the pawn on d4 restrained black's bishop, right? So this pawn on d4 is kind of funny how white just plays around it, not bothering to capture it. But okay, queen e4, bishop d3, uh, very direct idea. I mean, and like you were saying, if you can provoke g6, well, you got knight h5 ideas and
h4, yeah.
h4, h5 ideas. So uh, black has to be very cognizant, let's say, of that very simple plan. Okay, so black needs to make a move here, right? And at some point, well, f7, f5. If you're ever provoked to play that, you may you may be unhappy, huh? So I was just thinking, for argument's sake, queen e7, just to put a move on the board. Maybe it's not a good move, but bishop d3, rook a8 to d8, just putting a move on the board. Queen e4, f5, takes.
Rook.
I was gonna take with the pawn, actually.
Okay.
I'm really giving white a free shot. It feels right. I mean, well, it's not
It's
completely
not. I
free.
wouldn't say. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a free shot. This isn't. This isn't an
Yeah.
easy conversion. If there ever
Well,
was one.
it's just, yeah. It's just how strong is the attack if black, says, go ahead, put all your pieces on the nice squares.
Well, it seems to me to be fairly cozy. Yeah, so I'm gonna give you. Well, sorry,
Uh,
that check is
a
not the check
hot
I want to give.
casita? No.
No, I was going to. Let me just start traveling around.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, Queen G7, Knight H5 is, I could get myself into a lot of bother there. Excuse me, I seem to have picked up a cold from yesterday. Very, very bad for myself as well as our audience. Okay, so at the moment I'm a pawn up, but I'm worried about Knight H5. I'm worried about a lot of things. Um, Bishop E8, Queen H6, Queen G7. Can I get away with that, or is
I
that
mean, you
asking
can,
for
but if we're
trouble?
talking about Ding Liren's preparation, and the computer's telling
Yes,
him, Ding, you got full comp, go for it. You're
exactly.
not gonna get more than that if he plays perfectly, but you get full comp, and you get to attack a guy who much prefers to be on the white side of this position, generally speaking. So
Absolutely.
that's the impression I'm getting from this position. Is I think black should be okay
Right.
with the right moves, but white has full compensation, and I
I
like it.
agree.
I like it
Yeah.
because you're playing against Levon, who's excellent on the white side of these positions,
Yeah.
and may
Who
feel a
loves
bit
the
uncomfortable.
initiative? Yeah.
Because
Yeah, exactly.
you were suggesting this move?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I'm
here,
just,
let's say I take, and well,
yeah. You got your pawn
I got
back,
my
and
pawn, and I still keep the queens on, and it's very hard to assess. You never want to play e5 and just give me squares
give
there,
up.
but when you play f5, those pawns aren't going anywhere either, and there's still
No,
heavy pieces on the board. So it's um it's
it's
an
nice for
initiative.
white. I agree.
It's
It
yeah,
is.
it's an initiative.
Okay, but knight g3 for me, white is clearly telegraphing what he intends. Queen e4, bishop d3. Um, it's one thing when the knight was on b8 and it had potential to go to f8 to protect the h7 square, right? Here, there's no potential knight f8. So, um, how to address this very straightforward club-like play?
Yeah.
Big club, right? The caveman.
There's two options. You play
Yeah,
g6, you play king g7, and it's
hang in there.
hang in there, or you play for f5, maybe even immediately because that allows the maximum of your pieces in the sense that let's say you went f5, which I'm not a huge
Right,
fan of this move, but let's say take
right.
queen takes. I guess
Yeah.
this blunders something.
Well, this is a kind of a funny thing because I was hoping that you would play bishop d3, right?
Yeah.
Before I played f5 so that the bishop wouldn't be hitting e6. So I had actually, was looking for a line, to to use the tempo. Here, what's knight h5 again?
Knight
This looks
h5. Knight
a
h5 is
little awkward.
annoying, and I'm also figuring out if I should ever include the move a3 or not because of the lack of
Right,
squares for that
for the
bishop.
bishop. Right,
Um, but at the minimum, white can regain the pawn with knight e4 right here, bucking the queen off and playing knight takes d4 at the right moment.
before.
Um,
Yeah, for some reason I was wanting to. Okay, so here's what I was thinking. Okay, so in case of knight h5, Queen f7, I don't know. You can figure it out in a moment. Knight takes d4. I was hoping that knight takes d4, rook takes d4, I'd have a rook g4 kind of a promising hit on that g7 pawn.
Yeah, I think.
Bishop c5, rook f4?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a little awkward, no? Or maybe, well, rook g4, queen up. What's the story on rook g? Yeah, I'm not
Well,
sure, Eric. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, uh,
It just felt like there are vague notions that black position's coming under a lot of pressure.
yeah. Um, Objectively speaking, this should be in Levon's preparation. It's either white
Right.
recaptures the pawn or plays like this. And this isn't the only structure where this happens. One of
Right.
the main lines of the French Tarash,
Yes.
actually Queen e2 and playing around the pawn is
Thanks for the great
popular.
commentary. The purely
Absolutely.
engine
Absolutely.
thing. Besides the fact that Yasser is great and knows how to deal with
Sorry.
every situation.
I see you. You're live in
Something. I got some donate. Uh-oh. I need to. I'm on my laptop. Sorry guys. And I just got a. We just got a donation, which is very nice, but there's echoing in my head, so
headset.
I have to fix that. But thank you, Moranzovic, for the $5.
Bronzovich.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
it was a big thanks, but it actually autoplays like text to speech. So somebody types in a text and the voice comes into my head. So
Like, and it's in a robot's voice, like a robotic voice.
not quite. No, no, not a robotic. In this, I get to pick. I think it's British English.
Excuse me.
Let me
Okay.
let me fix that.
You had another idea, another approach. That's also.
So is there a difference between bishop d3 and queen e4? I know bishop queen e4 first is more flexible, it keeps the pin on. I was just if there's any moment where my queen is better placed. Well, it can't get to g4, so in this case, no, queen e4, sure, let's go for it. Oh, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Well, so are you saying I should consider gaining a tempo here with a3 at some moment, Yasser? Or is that not a useful tempo? Bec- but it, but I also don't like knight b4s in the future. I don't even want to allow that opportunity. So I I'm gonna play a3, a gentle wave. Let's go queen here. And by the way, b2 is hanging, Yasser. Now that I'm in Europe, I'm in a giving mood. So you can trust me with queen takes b2. Yep. Oh, sorry. 1 second. I accidentally muted you. I swear it was an accident.
Clever.
I swear it was
Clever.
an accident, guys.
Uh-huh.
New setup here. That must have been an I would never mute Yasser. That would just be
That's
oof.
what I.
Okay. No, you're online. Can you say something?
Okay.
Yeah.
One, two, three.
I muted the voice and it actually muted you as well. I'm sorry, guys.
No worries. So this looks very, very, very dangerous. But I just wanted to see if there's how do
So
you say a knockout blow?
yep.
Yeah, bishop d3, g6.
Speaking of knockout blow, I was was watching a movie on the airplane, Yasser, and it was The Mummy. They did a new one with Tom Cruise. I don't know. I thought it was a very, very poor movie. But
Okay. It
Russell,
didn't get great reviews.
no, I thought it was terrible because I was a big fan of the originals. Anyways,
Right.
Russell Crowe ends up being in the movie, and I was like, oh man, like I like Russell Crowe from Gladiator and a few roles. I
Of
saw that
course.
that boxing movie. Is it Cinderella Man?
Cinderella
Yeah,
Man.
so I'm
A
thinking,
great movie.
yeah, I liked it a lot. So I couldn't take him too seriously in the film, and I was like,
I
okay,
see.
he's cashing in.
Right.
Fair play, fair play. When you do some good films and then you want to make some bucks, and you
Right.
sign up for sort of the cheesy role. Um, but yeah, I like
Uh,
Cinderella Man. That was
yeah,
good.
no, Cinderella Man, well, Gladiator was his breakout role. I mean, he was really brilliant there, but Cinderella Man, I thought was well acted, well scripted, really nice period piece. Okay, yeah, well, I'm not a big
An
fan.
initiative because
A juicy one
I'm getting
too.
I'm getting H4 and
Well,
Queen
let's see.
G4.
Well,
Okay.
let's see. Go ahead. Kill me. I like to be killed. Bishop F8, H5. Very logical move, right?
Yeah.
Knight E7. I'm trying to, having abandoned my king, I suddenly, I'm trying to cover up as best I can. Queen G4. Bishop E8. The full throttle grovel is on.
Yeah, sir.
I'm not proud, but I'm a pawn
I
up.
can tell you're not proud.
I'm not proud. This is definitely
You're inviting all
all kinds
all
of
kinds of people
crushing
to your party,
blows.
yeah, sir. And that's noble. That's
That's noble.
yeah.
Okay, I
You
pawn
take,
takes, recapture.
let me
I
continue.
still got bishop G7.
Ay ay ay,
Still,
yeah, sir. Okay, so
ay, ay, ay.
does knight f4 not win material here, or am I hallucinating?
No, no, knight F4 does, but it's not like,
Well,
okay,
it's
knight
like when I'm
F4.
attacking, I'm looking to checkmate here, but at the minimum, if I can win back my pawn with a decent position, that gives me a nice sense of security. So let me see how knight f4 is dealt with.
Well, okay, I like the pawn on G6. I'm not a big fan of the pawn on E6, but oh boy, yeek, yeesh.
But
Uh,
that's
I don't know exactly. This just feels very,
wrong.
very pleasant. Yeah, wrong, but
Because let's say you go
yeah, it
d5.
just
Okay, I mean, I'm trying to cash in. I could maybe
yeah,
even move my knight back to
sure,
h5. Uh, I can still do moves like that because you're not anywhere closer
exactly.
to necessarily getting rid of my initiative. Knight f4. I think the line that's bothering me right now is actually no. There's no line
Yeah,
bothering me. Originally, I was thinking this was annoying, but
yes.
because queen takes that, which I thought was good. Uh, oh, maybe it is good. Never mind. Well, I was just worried about
Queen
this
takes,
move.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was thinking, oh, my knight can't go anywhere. But now I see that this is hanging, which I
true.
didn't see before.
Thanks
All
for
right.
all the commentary over the World
Well,
Cup.
I'm just
Yes,
having a hard
a
time
man
thinking of
Robin. It's been great. Bonus.
what setup
Kimonos.
um, it's very clear that White wants to play Queen E4, Bishop D3, checkmate you on H7, cause a panic, and I I'm trying to I'm trying to shuffle my pieces to avoid getting mated.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna. We got a really nice donation actually. I'm not the
Oh,
donation
lovely.
from K Myriad, I think from Australia, but I do have to tweak the voice because it's really loud on the headset and I can't hear you when it's on. But K Myriad said amazing, like I'm gonna read out, but it was thanks for all the commentary, $50
Our
donation.
pleasure.
Um,
Lovely. Thank you.
but I need to tweak that. One moment.
Is that are you tweaking your voice or mine?
No, your voice is fine. I'm
Should
just gonna.
I read?
No, you're
Should
fine.
I
You're fine. You're fine.
reduce my?
No,
Okay.
no, you're fine. I'm gonna go on my tablet. I
Oh, Bishop C5. Levon played Bishop C5.
so A3. A3 seems to be useful in a lot of these lines.
Yeah. Um, right, because Queen E4, Knight E7, and there's Bishop C6, perhaps, or maybe
Right.
Knight B4, what you pointed out. What's Queen
Wait.
E4,
Wait.
Eric?
What?
Yeah,
Queen
oh, sorry.
E4 isn't your yeah. Bishop D3.
Ah, yeah, and then you can get maybe your knight to G6 or something.
I'm following your line here. I was
Well, here, yeah. Oh no, no. Here you've got a very good accelerated version of the kind of position I was trying to get. Okay, so A3 makes a lot of sense then. Ah, now I understand. He didn't. So Levon played Bishop C5 because he wants to play Knight E7,
mm-hmm.
but he didn't want Knight E7 to be met by Rook takes D4. When suddenly the rook can, you've got a rover for free, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so now I understand Bishop C5. Okay, so essentially with this move Bishop C5, Levon is saying, go ahead and play A3, Eric. He wants to play Knight E7, I believe.
The move I want to play, Yasser, was actually Bishop D3.
Okay,
And
but now
I wanted to
how
test
do
you.
okay, how do you meet Knight B4?
I thought I was testing you, then I realized I made a mistake. I thought I had
Oh
Bishop
no,
E4 here. And I was
Bishop
hoping,
E4
I was
here.
thinking that I can get an A3 and everything comes with tempo.
There's a D3
Well, there's a
disturbance.
D3, there's a D3 right away even. And
Yeah,
that's the problem. So no, that I
there's
knew
a
this
disturbance in the force there.
this A3 move is turning out to be
Useful, I
useful.
think.
Um,
Yeah.
but if A3 happens, 97, maybe 97 is just the right setup, right?
Yeah,
Does that
because
go?
that diagonal bishop from B1 to H7 is very, very disturbing, and you really want to shut that diagonal. Now, knight takes D4, winning back the pawn. I'm guessing black is happy after queen B6.
Yep,
You tell me, but
yep,
I'm guessing
yep.
that he did, he kind of solves a lot of his development issues suddenly.
As soon as white wins the pawn in these positions, he runs a bit of a risk of just being worse and slowly ground down by those two bishops.
Right? Yeah.
Right. I mean, this position, you know what I mean. I guess there's knight b3, but like to me, it's only this knight. The knight on g3's only job is to help the attack, and if white
Right.
is not contributing to an attack, then he's gonna
Well,
be
the knight,
worse. Yeah, then he's not gonna
yeah,
be doing well.
the knight needs to be hitting some squares. Like the knight on g3 needs to be on h5, so that if you ever provoke g6, it can jump very nicely to f6. So, okay, so we're saying, well, let's look at that line again. But I want to do something, Eric. Let's look at a3 here, and in case of knight e7, let's just eyeball for a second b. Oh, what?
That was
Yeah,
a mouse flip. No.
yeah, b4. Put the bishop a little bit in front of the queen, and knight takes d4 here. Does this have some differences? Or are you still going to just take, huh? Oh,
Well, you're gonna try to checkmate me.
true that. That is indeed the case. I'm going to try. I may very well swing and miss.
I I don't feel like bishop d4 is the move. I was trying to force things, but the rook on d4 can coordinate well with this knight on g3. I envision rook g4 and
Exactly.
knight h5 if I
That
trade
was
here.
the intent.
And
Yeah, that was
yeah, that's not
that was
nice.
the intention.
It's not nice, Yasser.
No,
So
no, it's not.
let's go knight g6.
No, I'm not sure, Eric. I would be afraid of knight e6.
Okay,
Well, I'm not.
I'm letting you play it, Yasser.
You're letting me play it. Well, if you're gonna let me play it,
Yeah.
Let me just think. Hold on. Knight e6, fe6, queen g4, knight e5. There's f2 is hanging. Eh,
Well, I also have knight to f4, defending e6, and preparing to
right,
play queen e7.
exactly. And sacrificing all my uh, pieces for the queen is definitely good for black. The knight on g6 is a good defensive piece. Um, Here it just feels like there ought to be something for white, though.
You better come
Hmm.
up with something, cause yeah, when I play
Okay,
queen e7, I won't give you two moves to play this.
right.
So a3's
He
on the
has
board. A3's
he
on the
has
board.
played
We'll
a3 as
revisit that
expected.
line. Let's revisit that. I'll give you another
Sure.
shot.
Okay, b4 back. Yeah. Now let's pause there. I understand you want to play instead of knight takes d4. Sorry. I understand, of course, you want to play bishop c6 and oops. I'm getting two screens now. Yeah, there you go. Um, Let me take the move knight d4 back for a second. So a3, what did you play? Knight e7. Um, let's just pause here. What's knight e4? I can get in a tempo that way.
Eh, can you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, what is knight on g3 to
T-
e4?
You're going back.
Well, I got a tempo.
That's true. That's true.
Might be worth
And
something.
the bishop on c5 only has one square.
Right.
So I'm feeling like I need to sort of follow you, and I need to
Okay.
play rook c8, be as active as can be.
Right. Rook c8. That is a good turn. But I'm getting tempy, right? Okay, so if I go b4, bishop b6, knight d6, um,
So there's
I got my knight there.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how great it is, but
So
it's
let's
in
go
there
bishop a4, get that move in
uh,
before it's too late.
before it's too late. Okay. And what's the exchange variation? If I grab an exchange, is that
Yeah,
full comp?
it's, so I think I
It's
have to take with the queen.
all right. And rook d1 to c1, I guess.
Yeah, then I was gonna move
So you
back.
got you got a pawn and a bishop. Still a few awkward things in Black's camp. I can't say this is full compensation yet.
Well, how do you evaluate knight d5 next move? If you stop it, is that why?
Well,
Because
I was going to go bishop d3 actually. I was going to go
this
bishop d3 with the threat of queen e4, and I don't think you want to allow my battery.
yeah, I mean the pawn is blockaded. The position is not the maximum for black.
No,
So I
no.
wouldn't say full comp either. Um, b4 here, knight here. The other line I guess is just be rook c7. Try to play
Right.
some defense.
Yeah, exactly. Defense is good. Uh, huh.
Knight takes d4.
Gosh, I still want to get that battery somehow, but okay. A4 maybe. Your move bishop A4 kind of disturbed me last time.
But does
So
a4 give me the c5 square?
uh, everything is unclear still to me, Eric. I'm just kind of like
I
in
like
the
your
dark.
position. You seem to have
Yeah,
maximized that knight on g3. I said it was a problem if you don't checkmate me. You
put
immediately
it on
reacted
D6.
and you planted on d6. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, so you've done a good job here.
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting like in this position, Eric. I feel like the rook on A1 can participate now. I'll take on A5 if you recapture. My intention was to take with the knight and maybe play rook A3 to rook, across. Um, I haven't sacrificed anything in this particular line of play.
No, you haven't. You've won your pawn. Well, you can win your pawn back, and you're doing well. I wanted to say I forgot to mention that That
Yes.
donation said bonus tip for Yasser's amazing stories, lifting kimonos and all.
Lifting kimonos.
And Chess Bay as
By the
well. Yes, Chess Bay also.
Thank you to Chess
We
Bay,
love you, Yasser, and
our biggest supporter.
we like you, Eric.
And we like you. Like, damned by faint praise, Eric. How about that? Um, yeah, I was going to say, of course, that this whole streaming what chessbrah is doing on this World Cup is very different. It's off the beaten track. Robin, by the way, was playing Blitz the other day. I don't know if you picked up on that. But we're experimenting and we wanted to see how this would be received by the public. We wanted to raise awareness, subscriptions, donations, and we want Amon to get his third GM norm. Now, I notice, Eric, that you stepped out of the Isle of Man to devote yourself to Amon's success.
Yeah,
Why did you feel you had or should do that? Because you know me, I've been bugging you for quite some time for you to play more.
yeah. It's more of a It's not just that. I mean, I'm available fully to help, but it's been a crazy month, and I'm still doing work while I'm here. Like I went to bed at 7 a.m. yesterday today because
There
we're
was a
about
party.
no
No?
parties. No, I haven't partied in
Oh,
a long time. Yeah, so you can't party when you gotta wake up at 7 a.m. for the broadcast. There's only been one party, and that was our housewarming, which is
right.
still not even fully set up. But no, that trip to California in a few weeks is a networking trip. It's to meet with some potential sponsors who I'd like to get on board, commercial sponsors, and
Wonderful.
that's one thing. And just a few other things we have. In our deck that we're working on. I think I mentioned to you. We've had interns before, and we're continuing with
Yes.
that, and we're developing a few products, chess related.
With
With Blitz and with trying to make the game a bit more commercial or mainstream in North America, and it's taking a lot of time and resources. And I I guess I'm the only one who plans those things or does those things, but like I manage everything stream related. So it's
okay.
like if I play tournaments, when I play a chess tournament, I'm fully immersed, and I simply don't have. I don't necessarily reply to emails. I don't necessarily. Well, I can't.
Right.
I'm just fully immersed in the event, and I think that's the only way for me to do well is like if I'm as competitive as possible. It's very hard for me to just do
And
the 10
and
days.
and essentially the stream is keeping you too occupied. You can't devote yourself in a
It's
way that you would want to the tournament itself.
Well, yeah. I mean, coming in with no preparation, I've been doing for a couple of years, but being distracted during the games because of other things or having to maybe take a bye, which would have been also maybe a compromise, is not something I'm too keen on.
You
That's I
want
want when I play
right,
tournament, I want to maximize. So
of
just
course.
just this super busy time. Uh, some good things. This World Cup commentary. Lots of people
Yes.
here have been coming up and saying they've loved it, Yasser.
Really
Also
great. Oh,
from
how
from
nice.
very high rated players to just the amateurs, just a lot of positive feedback here in Isle of Man. But
Excellent
it's a big time commitment. You as well, three and a
for
half
me.
weeks, Yasser. Talk
Wow,
about a
I
long event.
know. Well,
Uh,
it's one of those things where the time for me especially has gone by really, really fast. I want to say, once it got down to the rounds of 32 and 16 and 8, I really began to enjoy it a lot more. 64 matches in day one is chaotic, right? Because where do you look? You can only devote, I don't know, 5 minutes to any individual game. Or so I liked it when the tournament calmed down and there were 8 games and 16 games and 4 games, and it just felt to me like the show was over. Like I sat down, I had a coffee, and the show was over. It went by so fast, and I really attribute that to yourself and Aman and Robin. Um, lively conversation.
No, for sure. I like the generally I like seeing a bunch of games because you know you're guaranteed blood and things like that. But it was very educational for me. I remember, you know, that one game that Catalan, Ding, and Wesley. When we have one or
Yeah,
two games, I think your knowledge really stands out. You're able to get deep into the position, and you don't have too many outlets to necessarily do that. I mean,
no,
where you as a commentator get to
right.
just really delve into a position until you gain grasp some sort of understanding that you know
Right.
of the truth, and
Yeah,
seeing you dig. Well, you don't get that chance too much, and I thought it was
little mining.
very
Yeah.
educational for viewers and for us as commentators, is to see you really take a position and run away with it.
Well, thank you for that. One thing I definitely want to say is like when we're in St. Louis, and I'm, for argument's sake, with Maurice and Jennifer, and it's the Sinkville Cup. One of the things there is it's really not intended, it may come out at times that way, as some kind of an instructional broadcast, some, chess heavy analysis. No, it's really intended as a kind of a TV show
Right.
where, we get guests and, maybe, like there's commercial breaks and we're interviewing a celebrity that happens to be in the tournament hall, and it's a mixture of all kinds of things with
Right.
maybe some chess engine analysis, some announcements. And by the time the whole mixture goes, it's like, over the course of the hour, maybe I don't know, speak, you know, 15 minutes, right? Because there's interviews and so many things happening. So it's not, our St. Louis broadcasts aren't intended to be, a lecture on the open French defense or something, like it's, but this format, however, you can just run with it, and you can devote, because you're not cutting to a break, like, is this our position, Eric? A397
97's on the board, and I'm revisiting your suggestion. But
of
yes,
94. Yeah,
different broadcasts. What's nice about the
right.
channel is we can try anything. That's why I'm like it's sort of an experiment. The whole channel
Of
started off because
course.
how
Yeah,
do people respond to different formats online? So
exactly. And for me, it's very interesting too, I think, like I, I I said this in a broadcast already for sure. For me, every time I get on an airplane, I'm just stunned, right? Because, here's a, 100,000 ton aircraft, whatever they weigh, 20,000 ton aircraft, taking off in flight, right? And it's traveling on trillions of molecules, and I just sit there and I think, like, holy cow, how is this possible? How is flight possible? And this broadcast, what we're doing for me is like this wonderful kind of science fiction. We get to watch a game in real time, right? We get to interact with an audience who's asking us questions. We get to pick each other's brains and share our thoughts. And when I was growing up, one of the most pleasant memories I ever have about chess is playing over the games of Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky. We'd get the newspaper report,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And there would be the game score,
yeah.
and six of us would be sitting down in the coffee shop and, you know,
Playing through
sharing
the
our
moves.
analysis, playing through the moves. And I just like that is for me, really thrilling. Now we're doing the same thing, only we have an audience of 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 4,000,
Mhm.
and we've got these chess engines, in the background, humming away, telling us, their thoughts. We're sitting there sharing with the audience
Yeah,
what the human player is scared about, right? And that for me is just like, I sit there and I go, pinch me, is this for real? I mean, it's just, I find it like a child's eyes, I just find it like, wow, just incredible.
I know a lot of people are gonna have withdrawals, Yasser, because it's been essentially coffee time with Yasser for the month of September,
Yeah,
and that's pretty cool. Coffee time with Yasser, we're just talking chess. That's a
yeah,
routine I could
That's
get
what we're
used
doing.
to. That's a routine I could get used to. It's almost yeah, like
It's
a
fun for
TV
me.
show. Yeah,
Let me get a coffee, Eric, and I'll be back in just a few minutes.
for sure.
All right? Okay.
Killer Cars, thanks for the sub. Goose0202 and Donks for me. Sorry about the loud noise before. Yes, Yasser has a very loud kitchen. Or an excellent microphone, which by the way is just a built-in computer microphone from what I can tell. But yes, today is the fourth game. It's a 4-game match. If the players tie today, the match score right now is 1.5, 1.5, 3 draws apiece. Then the final day is tomorrow. There will be tie breaks, and somebody's going to come home a champion. So for maximum chess entertainment, maximum Yasser, we're sort of hoping for a draw. I'm rooting a little bit for Ding, although actually both players are in the candidates, and I'm very happy for that. But today I think is his best shot, although the position seems fairly balanced. If unless I'm missing something. Holy shit. His microphone is so loud. Oh man. Oh man. It's crazy. That coffee machine, I gotta buy him a new coffee machine. This is too much for me. Holy smokes. Jeez. Must be like the strongest, I hope it's like the strongest coffee on earth. How's my microphone, by the way, guys? Can you hear it? I have to ask Yasser. His colleague, his good friend, beat Kramnik yesterday. So I think everyone saw the game, but you know what you may or may not know is Yasser and James Tarjan trained together. I think they seconded each other at tournaments. Definitely from not the same generation, but they overlapped, I would say. I think they're 8 years apart. So I think Yasser's going to have some stories when I ask him about, hey, what do you think? If you didn't know, yesterday Vladimir Kramnik lost to a veteran grandmaster, former Olympic gold medalist from the United States, James Tarjan. But it's about a 400 rating point difference, and that is really an anomaly. I've never seen it in my career at that level. A 2800 has not lost to a 2400, and I've never seen that. Not even close. That's, you know, statistically, you know, whatever. There's a percentage for that, but in practice, it just doesn't happen. It is, you know, it is super 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 rare. Well, I mean, I can talk about Isle, I'm not a professional chess player in the sense that I make a living from playing chess. I maybe play at the level of a professional chess player, and the tournaments I play are professional, but it's not my primary source of income, and so my priority is I'd like to play good tournaments, but if other things I'm busy if other things come up, I have to deal with them first because I do not I generally lose money playing chess. So I enjoy playing. I enjoy playing good players, but I don't make income from it. You could say for the most part. So it's not something I can just drop everything and do when the other things are what pays for my tournaments. I coach. I do chess camps. Um, do some Twitch. I've done a lot of work in St. Louis. I'm I do chess related things, but playing is probably the least lucrative out of all those. Coaching chess is quite stable. Camps, commentary. Um, Actually, I do a lot of commentary. So chess related activities for sure, but in terms of being a professional chess player, I'm only professional in the sense that I try to play strong events, but I absolutely um, yeah, do not base my living off of playing.
Your tournament prizes, thank God, you'd
Well,
starve.
I mean, I was saying like I can't just drop everything and play tournaments. I'm not a professional in that sense where I play tournaments for money. So
Exactly.
my motivation isn't that, but it's also if I'm busy with other things, I sort of they take precedence in the sense that they pay the bills. So
Exactly.
it's not a matter
Uh,
of that I can just carefree play chess and travel the world. It's not like that.
yes.
And Yasser's an example of
The,
that. I don't know, Yasser, you're a workaholic. I don't know if people
mm,
know that how much. I mean, the magazine you started when you were in your late 20s. I mean, Yasser,
yes.
that's very rare in chess. You were a board member and you started
Top banana, gents.
you started
In
a
Thanks
all
for
the
the
subjects, yeah.
a
punditry.
very good, very but very committal project.
Oh, anybody who's ever been involved in editing or publishing a chess magazine in any way understands deadlines and the pressures to get the players to annotate their games. Um, uh, but despite all of that, I had some really, really fun times. It was, I'm going to say, while it was minusculely profitable, it was really a labor of love. And I enjoyed it because it was a different era. There was no internet. How were you supposed to get the top games? How could you know, be up to date? And the magazine Inside Chess ran from essentially 89, 90. That was our start, all the way to for 12 years, a dozen years. And I loved it. But at that point, the writing, I'll tell you what happened to me, that the writing was on the wall, that
Yep.
magazines and newspapers for that matter were in serious trouble. It was a tournament in the Grand Canaries, Palma, uh, um, Palma,
De
Las
Mallorca.
Palmas.
Oh, Las
No,
Palmas.
not Las Palmas. I beg your pardon, not Palma de Mallorca, Las Palmas. And it was a double round robin, and it was like a candidates tournament featuring the world champion Gary Kasparov. There was Kasparov, Karpov, Anand, Topalov. I mean, you just go right down the line of great players. And Gary won an unbelievable game. It was just fantastic game against Veselin Topalov. And we watched the game live on the internet, and my editors, John Donaldson, Michael Frenette, we were just playing over the game like that Bobby Fischer, Boris Spassky tale. Um, and we were like, wow, the next issue of the magazine is going to be so cool because this tournament is so cool, right? And I came in the next day, and Grizzly Bear, Mike Frenette, he had this look of like somebody died or something. I don't know. He was white. And I said, Mike, is everything okay? And he says to me, yeah, sir, you got to look at this. Uh, Check the Oracle. The Oracle was this massive printer that we had. That, I mean, it was unbelievable printer. This was like the top of the line printer the world had ever seen. It spit out like 10 pages a minute, which at
Yes.
that time was
Was fast.
phenomenal,
Yeah, that was
right?
great.
It
I
was
remember.
super fast. And it kept printing and printing, and eventually it got to 24 pages. And it was all analysis by the world champion Garry Kasparov on the game that had been played literally less than 24 hours before. And I go, oh, Mike, this is, Gary's my man. He came through. He annotated the game for us. And Mike said, no, Yasser. He annotated the game for his internet site, Kasparov Chess. Okay? And it's downloadable for free. And I'm holding solid gold, right? I mean, this is Garry Kasparov
Right.
annotating his game for the magazine.
So
I'm thinking it's for the magazine, but it was all free on the internet. And
ooh.
my magazine's not going to be printed for another, 2 weeks, right? And then it's going to take a week for it to show up in people's mailboxes. So there's going to be a 3-week lag between the time the game was played and the game is published and held by the readers. And we're of course charging subscriptions. I mean, obviously we had to charge subscriptions for the magazine, but this was Garry Kasparov's analysis, gold
Right.
analysis for free. How can you compete
You
with
can't.
that, Eric?
You can't. I mean, you
That the
you read it.
handwriting's on the wall.
You read it yourself, and a lot of people were quite stubborn about it, right? I mean,
Yes.
you were. It sounds like you were among the first, at least in
To
chess, especially
realize,
because
yeah.
chess is quite conservative. That to realize how quickly the internet is gonna change the world we live in. Because
And it has, and it did. And I remember I was speaking with Kasparov a couple of times in New York when he played Deep Blue, in Prague. There was an event there, and here in Amsterdam, in Holland. And he was raising money for Kasparov Chess because he was going to go public. This is the .com era bubble period. And Kasparov Chess spent like $20 million.
what?
Yes.
I know that website because when I first learned chess,
Right.
it was around in I think 2001. That's when I learned how to play.
It was around before that
It was
time
around
as
before that
well.
time. Yeah.
But
20 million.
Kasparov, 20
Oof.
million. The Kasparov Chess had offices in Tel Aviv, Moscow, and I'm telling you, primo location in Manhattan. These really, really, really good, gorgeous offices. And I think they had 20, maybe 30 people full time.
Wow.
And yeah,
I had
Mig
no idea.
Ringard was just one of them. And Gary, well, not Gary, but his company, he burnt through 20 million, no problem. And they were going to go public, and then the whole .com bubble just burst, and people decided it wasn't eyeballs that was needed, but it was actually a profit. And it was an amazing time. Kasparov made an offer to buy Inside Chess from me, and hindsight being 2020, I should have like jumped at it. It would have been great for me personally, and it was just what can I say? It was just a different moment in time. By the way, I like this move, Knight G6, a lot. He's played it, right?
Mm, has he? Let me refresh. Yes, he
Because
has. He has.
yeah, and I'm sitting there wondering, what is White going to do when you put the knight on D6, which seems okay. I'm worried about Queen G5, and suddenly Black's pieces start to look very coordinated. E5 is weak. On the good day, the bishop is going to go to A4, maybe cause a disturbance. I'm not sure how solid the knight is on D6. Can we put that on the board, Eric?
Yeah. Um, Knight e6 doesn't work again. Just this is
Yeah,
what black is banking on. That there's no tactics right now, which means black can unravel. Bishop e6.
right.
I'll just show this line. That's
Yeah,
a rook in two pieces, but you have to evaluate those. You also have two pawns, but you have to evaluate the pieces, and they're excellent. Blockade, great bishop.
absolutely.
This knight can jump to f4 or take on e5 on a good day.
Great
Black,
rooks.
great rooks. So black has the maximum out of that position.
Right.
Um, so in the current position, what did you want me to play?
I don't know. I was going to go knight d6, and I was starting to wonder how good is White's position after queen g5 would definitely get my attention.
So I'm gonna try to be greedy since I don't see anything else.
Sure,
Yeah, sir. I'm gonna play knight
knight
f3. Yeah.
queen h5, let's say. I'd love to have the timing to play knight f4, but I'm not. I'm just thinking if I could play bishop c6, wow, what great pieces black has.
Well, when
You
you
know,
ha-
like, wow, look, the bishops are just doing great.
when Yasser's offering a pawn, something is wrong.
A miss.
And I can't.
Yes,
If I take b7, you're getting everything. If I go here, you're
that's
still getting everything too. I don't like what I'm seeing in some of these
exactly.
lines. You're just getting so active, and you're getting pot shots, and I have a loose position. Knight g6. What move were we looking at? Knight d6.
Knight d6. Um,
Queen
and we were
here.
just getting our queen into the game.
Well, what can
Yes.
I do for you?
Well, that is the question. I mean, it almost begs the question, did White do something wrong? I mean, I'm not sure if White did something wrong, but I'm just saying that in this exact position, the tactics with knight f7 and knight e6 don't seem to be working.
Well, then,
Then black is just
yeah.
good
Well, this
because the e5 pawn is,
e5 and knight f4. It's just the bishops
yeah,
are just the bishop on b6 is a monster here.
yeah. Hmm.
Either I find a move or I have done something wrong. Yeah, sir.
Right, that's what
Simple,
I'm
simple.
thinking too.
I have done.
Like
Maybe is the knight
I,
jump optimistic?
I'm not sure, like I'm having a hard time pegging it's the exact moment where I say, oh, White made a big mistake right here, because I'm. It's very hard to double guess what White did the last few moves. Queen h5. Okay,
Gonna start off with this move.
you know, earlier when we started the broadcast, we were talking about putting the bishop on d3, the queen on e4, and black had issues. The queen on h5 almost feels like it's playing more of a defensive role than an offensive role. On h5, you're just protecting the pawn on e5. Um, okay, I'm thinking queen h4. Trade the guys. Um,
Trade the guys.
yeah, or trade the gals.
Yeah, in this case, trade the gals. Huh. Well, that pretty much forces my hand. And but any sort of endgame Yasser is not just it's not just okay for black. Black is doing really well when that knight goes back to g6. The rooks go to d8 and c8. This is all fun
It's
for the
easy
bishops.
play.
All fun for the
Right.
bishops.
I
And I
totally agree.
and I have no discovered attacks on that bishop on d7. And you always can play even I don't know bishop a4, bishop c6.
Right. The bishop a4 is the one that really is kind of bothersome too. It's like if you ever win a tempo, and I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to win the tempo, bishop a4 gets it right back. And like you were just saying, the knight retreats somewhere, bishop can come to c6. Uh,
Yeah, so this is on the board, and
yeah.
geez, I mean, queen
Okay.
h5 was not a move. As you said, I just couldn't find anything
It's
else.
just it's disturbing when you have to play a move like Queen H5 to protect your E5 pawn and allow Queen H4 as a response.
Aronian quickly played Queen H4, and
For
unless
sure.
unless we're missing something, Yasser, he's not only equalized as he gets the queens off. When you get the queen off, I mean, black has no serious weaknesses. A knight can jump to
Right.
d6, but e5 is more of a target, and I don't know. Just endgames will favor the two bishops. Like,
Absolutely.
how do you trade off pieces? So let's say queen takes h4. This is fairly forcing. You're attacking the queen and the knight
Right.
on e4. So we trade
Okay.
everything, and
Yeah.
okay, I'll take either color. I mean, I'll play either color, but
I'm guessing that you got to go knight d6 anyway. I'm not. I'm starting to look for lines where I'll equalize. Knight g6. I'll take a pawn on b7. You'll take a
but
pawn on e. Oops. What?
yeah, yeah. If
You'll
we
take a pawn on
mhm.
e5. I'll go bishop b5, and I'm scrambling for a draw here.
This is good
This
for
is
black.
not equal. Yeah,
Well,
it's not equal. Yeah.
this is really bad. I mean, first of all, bishop b5 hangs what, two pawns or one pawn?
Does it
One
really?
pawn.
Ooh.
No,
Oh, you mean the pawn on b2? Yeah.
I meant the
Or
pawn on b2.
yeah, your bishop gets out, right? Rook a2. How many squares does your bishop have? That's enough. And
Okay,
now you got rook b8. Yeah. And
um,
you're fine. And
but
you're happy.
besides
Besides
that,
that,
the
yeah.
fun lines might start beginning with some sort of capture and
And knight
knight g4,
g4,
rooks.
rook b8.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is really bad, yeah, sir. No, but this
I agree.
oh
I agree.
this is that would be. I mean,
That
this is
would be
all
good.
about the initiative, and we were having some fun in some lines, but Levon with some accurate play,
Yeah.
namely bishop c5, incorrectly keeping this bishop on this diagonal and
I
rerouting the knight to g6. That seemed to be uh,
the more I'm thinking about it, if there is a culprit in White's play, I'm beginning to have my doubts about a3.
mhm,
I'm
a bit
beginning
too
to think
slow.
that yeah, it was a little too slow, for sure. This knight e7 to g6 is a great defensive reaction. And when I put the pawn on a3, it makes his move bishop a4 a lot more potent. So here, if I had to um, take something back, I would look at that move a3. I'm going to double guess that a3 was a culprit of sorts. What happened if he had played
R-
his intended bishop d3 or queen e4?
well, bishop d3, you poked me with knight b4.
That's the poke. Yeah.
But there's also, I mean, rook ac1, and
Right.
let's say a move like bishop b6. Just
Exactly.
we can still play the same way, maybe knight e4.
And if we get a similar position to the one in the game, rook c1 is going to be much better include tempo than a3.
Yes.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity here, if I go queen e4, Eric, queen e4 with the very, yes, bishop d3, I want to give you a hockey mati.
Well, this is fun because now we're ready to sacrifice an exchange, right?
Well, no, I wanted to take the pawn on b7. Oh, you want to go
Oh
h4,
yeah,
h5.
sir. Yeah,
Okay.
sir.
Oh,
Just
okay. H4.
I
I like the creative
the
flow.
the pawn grabbing. I thought we were in this together. That we were going to checkmate black. That this rook on c1 is very cleverly placed because
Yes,
after
it's true.
h4, bishop c6. Well, if not bishop c6, I mean h5 is coming.
Well, I think he would have to play rook e8 and prepare
Well,
to.
then I'm a very very happy guy. If you want your pawn, yes, or now we can take it. Now after
Exactly.
we've maximized.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, I'm thinking that the game position, very favorable for black. So all we're trying to do is say, well, where did white go wrong? And maybe it was this a3 that was a little too slow.
It's really starting to look like it, Yasser, because I wanted a3 as a prophylaxis, maybe stop knight b4. But it turns out knight g6 is sort of that ideal square with the bishop on
Exactly.
c6, and
Right.
that's a very important tempo. That turns out to be
A big
deciding. Yeah, a big
difference
difference in these lines. No, that rook
as to
ac1.
who's getting the advantage and why. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Levon is in his element now. Yeah, so two bishops. He knows he's better. Uh,
Yes.
I think he's quite,
I don't think there's any question about that, Eric.
and he can improve on his technique from 2 days ago. He's getting another chance. It's Ding is serving, but he's been quite shaky on serve. You could
Yes.
say this match. It's
Well, I must say, all around, White hasn't done very well in this match, which is kind of surprising, right? I mean, because, we all like having the white pieces, but Ding's play with black has been pretty solid. Levon almost won game two with black and should have. So black defense wins these matches, huh? So, okay, we need a bailout variation if there exists a bailout variation. Otherwise, I'm just thinking black is having a big advantage. Okay, imagine that we want to make a draw now with white.
well,
We're pulling in our horse.
that's what we have to
Yeah.
do. So
How do
here,
we do it?
well, I'm taking, you're taking, and
Yeah.
now, yes, I have to come up with a bailout. We need
Yes.
to prepare a package, some sort of compensation package here.
Compensation
Yeah,
package. I like
yeah,
that.
I'm a big four automaker. Let's see what I can do. Well, can I be? No, I can't be greedy. G3 doesn't work because you have bishop d4. Oh,
Exactly.
this is annoying. I do not like this. Okay, so
Not at all.
wait.
Yes. No.
I need to figure out a way to deal with
With everything,
that
yeah.
bishop on b6. I need a move here. One moment. One moment.
I'm almost thinking about b4, knight c5, and
That's
sacrificing a pawn, to try to blunt the initiative. But it's sort of like if black ever goes knight g6 takes e5, not only does he win a pawn, but, he's still going fast.
No, e5 is so weak in these lines. That's why I wanted g3 and f4, but that also opens things up. There's no,
Yeah,
no.
just that the problem with g3 immediately is bishop d4 and there's knight f3 check. That could oh, hold on, is that, wait a minute. No, no, g3 bishop takes d4, I take your knight on h4.
Ah, there's that x-ray, huh?
Well, is it, yeah, well, there you got a traffic jam there. No, just a second. Go ahead, play g3 for a second, just so I can work out the tactics. Bishop takes d4. Not the only move, of course. Takes on b2. And if your rook moves to a2 or b1, bishop a4. And I think I'm out in time. Winning. That's just a stone cold winner. So you can't play g3 as a bailout. Not surprisingly.
Yeah, no, not surprisingly. Even if I got g3, I'd have to follow up with f4 and open up all the lines and.
Yeah, actually, and that's the other problem. If you go knight g6 here, not a bad move in that line where we go like g3, knight g6. If we go f4, that I was really afraid of that bishop a4, rook d8 kind of ideas, but
yeah, I just realized we fortunately have
Knight d6,
96.
right?
But
Ah, thank goodness for that one. Ooh, but no, bishop d4 wins. You can't play g3. You have to come up with something better than g3. So what happened was on the weekend, it was really brilliant weather here in Holland. I mean, really, really sunny, hot days. And then Monday, yesterday, the temperature just dropped drastically, reverted to form, so to speak. It was windy and wet, rainy, and I didn't realize the extreme switch in temperature. I ended up getting a cold. So I've been sneezing and wheezing my way around the house here.
what
So
temperature is it?
apologies. Now it's probably about 16, 18 outside, but it's windy and kind of wet. Rain.
That's the worst
Yeah,
part about the
that's
Netherlands. It's the rain.
it's the rain. It's the rain. Well, what we said, our expression in Seattle was, "We don't tan, we rust."
So that's
So I'm used
depressing.
to the rain.
You are. You are.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Really, I don't see a line that I would consider acceptable for white.
Okay, I'm going to take another stab at it. I'm gonna make a concession here. Yes, sir. A4.
A4. What? What? Okay. You want to stop bishop takes A4? Um. Okay. I think I'm falling for it. Knight G6.
No, you're not falling for anything. I was trying to muster up some counterplay. Like I'm feeling that knight on d4
Oh,
has to
you
go
want
to
to
f3, but I wanted to.
you wanted to play A5, bishop D4, rook D4, knight E5, and make some kind of statement that
Right, my
your activity compensates.
it's not looking good
That
though.
that's a hard argument to make.
I I'm just trying to grovel here.
No, I understand. Me too. I'm looking for a bailout as well. Um, okay. Bishop takes B5, Eric.
Mhm.
Are you taking with the pawn or oh, you're taking with the knight. Okay, knight takes E5. Uh-huh. Well, I don't believe it's full comp, but at least you're getting something, some kind of pressure. This looks like a decent shot, right? Could I have improved a moment ago? Go back just a second. If I had taken on D4 first,
That's what I that's what I wanted to that's what I was
double
hoping
check.
for.
Yeah,
That
that
in this sort of position, knight takes e5.
right,
Maybe I can use something with that a file. Maybe it's a f4 and then knight c5, f4 and g3, but that I can maybe win a pawn back. Maybe even with
right,
rook d to a4.
right, right. But at the same time, okay,
I'm
black
never getting. I don't think I'm ever
full comp.
equalizing, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
trying to get rid of those queenside pawns. So at some point I'll find myself, suffering on the king side, maybe a
yeah.
pawn down. But I this looks better
It's a
than some of the other lines because if I lose that pawn with two bishops on the board, yeah, so that's like the momentum is
yeah,
just too severe.
exactly.
So he's done a4. Oh, look at that! He's
No
played a4.
way.
Yeah. So, well, we couldn't find a
Well,
move.
we couldn't
We
find a
we
move.
we actually couldn't find a move, and we spent more time here than almost anything.
Right.
I cannot find a move for the life of me. I mean, someone was asking in the chat, Eric, what about knight f3? I mean, knight f3 doesn't lose a pawn, but it gives black a lot of things he
Basically
wants.
everything.
So
The two bishops after.
the two
Hmm?
bishops in the long run to me are worth as much as easily as much as a pawn in some of these positions.
Could you
Uh,
take that one back, Eric?
Absolutely.
I actually like bishop c6
Yep. I
because
I
knight
don't
takes
complain.
h4, bishop takes e4. And then the white's minor pieces are off sides, and
Yeah, you
well,
make a very good point, Yasser, because the big
yeah,
difference here is that let's say knight f3, gf3, bishop c6, and I play king g2 just to get off the back rank. That knight can go on d6, and I can try to artificially close the position a little bit, and it's not easy to
right,
dislodge that knight.
right,
There's a huge difference between the knights. One can sort of battle against the open position, one cannot. So bishop
right.
c6, knight h4, bishop e4. Not only is this knight
Yes,
out of play, but let's say you bring it back and you're like, okay, black's
right,
not going to take this because it's off the bishops. Of course, black's not going to take it. I can play rook fd8, and you just
right,
cannot oppose the d file like you could in that other line. And sure,
right.
you know you're not down a pawn or anything, but black has full control here. He can bring the king in. This bishop is great, and this knight is just much worse than that knight on e4, where it could at least
And don't
provide some
and don't
resistance.
yeah, and don't kid yourself, by the way, because bishop takes f3, bishop d4 might not be a bishops of opposite color position that you really want to try to draw. I mean, you may just be suffering. No, I
Yeah,
mean, I
yeah, yeah,
like your rook
yeah,
d8.
yeah.
It's two result game for sure.
To result game. So, well, I think a4. I actually don't think that's a bad move because I couldn't find any other move. And this
Agreed.
one is the practical choice because if he finds himself in a position where he's so uncomfortable he can't find a move, he
Yeah,
gets indecisive. Maybe he let's say he finds that move, he might be in the exact same spot in the move very next move. I don't know what to do.
exactly.
He needed a plan. He
Exactly.
needed something active.
Right.
And at least with a4, you may be giving up a pawn, but you're going to get activity and you relieve a lot of the pressure. A pawn is not something you want to part with, but otherwise you're faced with the same critical choice every single move. How do I contain
Exactly.
the bishops? How do I defend d5? And this is a
This is
sad necessity.
yeah, that's maybe the best way of putting it, a sad necessity. Now, having said all of that, that knight g6, yeah, what did you play? You went bishop b5. Maybe you're getting something there. Do I have to cash in my chips right now? Can I play, for example, a6 and just say, I want to retain the two bishops?
D- isn't a6 giving me exactly what I want? I play a5
Okay, I drop back.
and I play knight d6.
Okay, knight
I,
g6.
well,
I'm
this.
still keeping the two bishops for the time being. But I agree, the pawn on a5,
Mm,
yeah, is more of a factor.
yeah, you don't have bishop a4. I've gained space and I fixed something I've
A
wanted to target
target.
anyways.
Yeah.
Th-
Good
this this
points.
seems like I was just
Oh,
looking even at the forcing line. Let's say knight takes b7, knight takes c5,
five, yes.
and I was I was trying to calculate um,
Well, here, of
here.
course, black wants to play rook on f8 to b8 and crash through on the b2 against the b2 pawn, right?
Yeah, I was actually trying to calculate just the forced sequence, but
Oh
it's
my.
too risky. It was something like this.
Yes. 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 Looks good. And f4? Yeah.
I was trying to make this work.
And continue the line, Eric. Rook c8.
Yeah, and that was the issue.
Yeah. Here I like the minor pieces, I think, after rook takes c5
Yes,
and knight
you
c6.
can blockade, and that's
Yeah, that's a
although
good.
although this maybe isn't.
It's not over, but it just feels like the two pieces. The position should favor the two pieces.
Can we look a little more here?
Of course, of course, of course. This
How
is
good
a.
is it? Because white's not
It's
down
a
any
very
material.
foreign.
Yeah, and it's very forcing.
But, okay, bring the king into the game. King f8. Yeah, I'm hoping that guy's gonna just die. uh, So bishop c8, rook d6 is maybe a potential issue, right? So king e7 for now.
Yeah, and you are gonna pick it off. I was hoping to get some
But
counterplay.
yep,
But
yep.
but
No,
this
I get it.
this seems
It's
like
still,
it's still, yeah, I mean,
it feels a little clampy. It's not that easy to shake off the activity. Should be in black's favor, but
I agree, but it's something. I mean, I think
yeah,
these
there's
lines
some
become.
kicking potential there. And that was a very forcing line. And that's what grandmasters do, by the way, as they really look for the forcing lines first. If a force variation can solve whatever problems they're having, certainly white is having some problems. Um, that that's the solution. Go for the forcing lines. Very intriguing. So a4. So he did just play knight g6 and say, okay, give me the pawn. So how did we do that last time, Eric? You did something like bishop b5, I
I
think.
did bishop b5 because I want to get rid of that bishop. The alternative, well, there's also a5, but in this case, I wanted that open a file because knight e5, the bishop goes to c6. That looks like a very very
Solid
clear, solid, clear
extra
pawn.
pawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one.
So I'm trying
Sign me up.
to.
I want the solid extra pawn. I remember I was analyzing with Iron Mike Shahadi, the father of Jennifer, and Greg Shahadi. Greg Shahadi is an international master, and it was at a World Open. And Mike was my opponent and I were analyzing, having a postmortem together, and I was a pawn up. Um, and the opponent said to me, the extra pawn isn't meaningful, right? And I looked at Mike and said, not meaningful, right? Like, I live for this meaninglessness.
That's
And
why you
it's
play
sort of
chess.
like, yeah, that's why I play chess. And it's sort of like in that position where you're trying to find activity for this, solid extra pawn on e5. If it's not meaningful, give me the meaningless,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I'll take
There,
it. Yeah.
that's just a very good extra pawn. Maybe white, thanks to his slightly more active pieces, can get something, but it sure feels minuscule compared to what what black has. Should we try should we try bishop? What do you want to try? Bishop
Bishop
b5? Should we
b5
try
was
that
was
again?
the only move I was finding, but I'm trying to double check that I'm not
Yes,
missing anything else. If
please.
I move the knight away from d4, black plays bishop c6 automatically
Happily, yes.
and beats me up. And
Beats you up.
really, the moves just come naturally. It's really a problem that this position is so easy to play for black. You know e5 is a permanent, not well, a serious weakness. You know your bishop on d7 is needs to find a better diagonal,
Uh,
but when it does,
Eyeball
it's
is
gonna
going
be
to be
great.
great.
If
Yeah,
you get all that in, I mean, the position plays itself. Move your rooks to d8, c8, and slowly but surely take over this open position. These knights don't
everything.
have
Yeah,
solid footing. You
yeah,
have to stop that momentum. It's like critical. This has to be forced, Yasser. This is like
exactly.
that's how
Bishop
severe it is.
b5.
And I'm just dreaming that okay, you have to take the material because if black tries to be active, I'm kicking and screaming maybe in these lines, right? I get rid of that light square
Right.
bishop, and this is a pretty efficient way to defend.
Yeah. Um, yeah, black definitely doesn't have more than a pull there, but it's the material that was. I think we were taking on d4 first. I'm not sure.
Well, there's two lines.
Oh,
We looked at both. I'm
yes.
not sure
Sorry. Okay.
which one you were
Right.
keen for. But
Well, you were getting the doubled B pawns, and you were saying, okay, with this activity, you were making a decent argument that okay, you could win a pawn back with a move rook d4 a4. You could I don't know, maybe play knight c5 and tickle me there.
Your
But
move.
here, yeah, yeah, but here the problem I think for white is that black, by the time you take this pawn on a7, bad things are going to be happening to your everywhere.
Show me.
To you. Uh, is it black to play now?
Yes, I played h3 to
Okay.
make sure I don't have
Ah,
back rank issues.
issues. Bobby Fischer, checkmate. Um, okay, so two variations come to mind. F5 and rook d2 or rook d5.
f5, allowing knight c5.
Oh, f5 allowing knight c5 isn't good. So let's start with rook d5.
Knight c3.
Rook d2. And you took us. Now, how active is my play? I get this beautiful knight on d3. So I'm guessing I'm trading rooks for the moment. Yeah. And now
No,
here I have a problem. Should I play b6 and make your rook a little bit more awkward, or do I worry and just play rook takes b2 and knight d3, going for the material?
that's feeling closer and closer to a draw, Yasser, to me. Or are you saying
That
you're gonna get 4 and 2? Like, okay.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want to try to get 4 and 2, like f3. Terrible, terrible move, f3, something like knight f4, and I might even be coordinating, mating nets as well as winning material.
Yeah, I might have to rely on critical moves like rook here.
Yep, yep, yeah, got it.
And I think that's the key move here.
Because you get to play b6, huh?
Your knight's trapped.
My knight's trapped?
Well,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Well,
yes, knight f2, b6, right.
yeah. So that wasn't extracting. That was giving me too much counterplay.
Okay.
But you're very close. If you get 4 and 2, well, 4 and 2 with the
And a
pass
nice
b pawn,
Yeah.
then should be close to winning, especially because
Yeah, I wanted it
you
in
can
a
always
nicer
retreat
way.
a piece, the knight to d5, for example, or just sort of come back very quickly. But
Right.
there's a certain allure to this for white to defend so actively. But he has not gone for it. Maybe I misevaluated something there, Yasser. I might be missing a move
He
because
played a5. Yeah. Well, the reason I liked your bishop b5 as a better alternative was because at least in those positions we were looking at, you were taking away the two b's, right? And with your bishop b5, you were trading off the potential is that bishop on c4 could actually be a bad piece.
yeah.
Pardon me, while the bishop on c6 is a great piece.
Are you suggesting maybe a6 and just keep that bishop firm on c6?
Well, I don't understand what's wrong with knight takes e5.
It's this
Educate me.
I will.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Uh-huh. That's a good education. Darn it. What was I thinking? I'm not sure my coffee had enough caffeine in it. Sorry. For some strange reason, I thought I was going to get knight c4 and bishop d5. I'm not getting that. I'm not happy. I wanted more than this. Okay, so a6. I agree. I'm having an off day thanks to my cold. So a6.
You're excused. I think we've burned a few of our off days collectively.
Oh, I get it. How about this line, Eric? Is rook and f8 to d8 a meaningful hit?
Inclusion?
Yeah.
Show me.
Right.
That makes sense though. I see the allure because
The
after take, take,
take.
knight takes, maybe this move, bishop e8's a bit more attractive because you don't have
Right.
a rook entombed.
Right. And my king can go nicely to e7. Maybe if you force me to play b6, I'm not so unhappy. Knight d6, by the way, could walk into a pin, a potential pin at least, rook to d8. So this looks nice. An extra pawn.
Oh,
What to say?
that's a very healthy extra pawn with
Healthy extra pawn
with still play
with
it like
goodness.
yeah, it's good because you still kept pawns on the queen side and
Oh, he took right away on e5.
he took right away. That means he might see something concrete. Otherwise, yeah, sir, I wouldn't be surprised to see some variation like this crop up. Bishop takes e4, rook takes e4, and I'm gonna play knight d7, play knight
Absolutely.
c5, and cement it with b6, and just
I love that.
the knight against bishop with the pawns rolling on the e and the f.
Excuse me.
That might cure your cold.
Yes. Well, that knight on c5 is a monster, and we were talking about the potential that this light square bishop for white will end up playing a spectator's role, especially with
Uh,
the pawn on b5.
I mean, yeah. So this sort of position, I think Magnus would convert against most of the top players in the world because you knight
Absolutely.
against bishop, you have no way of trading off, and black has no weaknesses except potentially that b6 pawn, which can only be maybe targeted once or something. That light squared bishop plays no role in
Yeah,
judging that.
I agree. And there's no real
Wow.
necessity to rush with b6. Like you could play knight c5, bring your rooks to the c file without playing the move b6, and then bring your king over. And only, like when white cannot play the move rook d6, then you can go b6, cement the knight, challenge the d file, and claim.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a
This
dream
is lost.
position. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
almost say this is lost, and
no question.
I don't know what we're missing, but Levon Aronian is on the verge of winning his second World Cup. His first win was in 2005, so 12 years apart. But he is very close to this is a easier conversion than the position he had 2 days ago.
Yes,
Because
I'll agree with that for sure.
and 2 days ago he probably should have won. I don't think
Also,
he's going to make that mistake again. Let's check on the current position, but I that's on the board, Yasser. Ooh,
of course, it
this
was
is
a very
good.
forcing line.
That
Yeah,
was forcing, and
yeah.
that's not good if you're a Ding Liren fan. I
No.
think this is the knight against bishop plus the extra pawn and the
Yep.
easy moves for black and the extra 21 minutes on the clock spells big trouble.
Big trouble. And again, it was one of those things. I mean, you never want to like to lose or anything like that, but Ding's mistakes um, were quite subtle, to say the least. It it wasn't like you made any obvious, egregious error. You can just like put your finger and say, "Gosh, that cost me the game." Um, it just seemed like his approach to the position wasn't a good approach.
Could you say maybe that Levon has a lot more experience in the
Sure.
just maybe the position? There might be a theoretical evaluation, but just the understanding that if you don't get your attack there, that you run the risk of being much worse. Like
Exactly.
there's something to be said about a sense of urgency in that middle game. That if you've played games on the white side of let's say that middle game,
Yeah.
maybe Levon has, that
Yes.
you have no moves to spare
Yeah.
because how quickly the tables turn. As soon as that knight gets on g6, we start liking black's position. Uh,
Exactly. There was no attack anymore on the B1 H7 diagonal. There was no battery for white. And yeah, then black's queen H4 like just definitely removed any potential dangers, and then it's all black. Black has everything he could want. And we have this position after rook d4, so we're expecting knight c5.
Wow, this is gonna go for a while, but this is gonna be a torture session.
Oh, terrible.
This is this is gonna be bad. Yeah, so I wanted to pick your brain.
Sure.
A good friend of yours yesterday scored the biggest upset I've ever seen following chess.
Yes.
In terms of rating, at least.
Jim Tojam, a blast from the past. In 1979, Jim and I shared an apartment in Hollywood, California, and we spent the summer of 79 preparing him for his biggest event of his career, which was the interzonals in Riga, Latvia. That was a massive, I mean, I'm telling you, 20-player tournament with adjourned games and free days. I mean, this tournament lasted 6 weeks. And of course, I think if you were in the top five, maybe the top three, whatever, you qualified for the candidates. And Jim and I worked really, really, really hard on his preparation. He had like the Soviet squad. It was like Polygaevsky, Michael Tal, Tomaszewski. It was just a whole slew of Soviet players.
Did you say Tomaszewski?
Yeah,
Tomaszewski?
but not the new one. Or was it Teshkovsky?
Yes,
Sorry,
Teshkovsky.
Teshkovsky. Yeah. And I remember we had these sessions that, we would wake up at 11 o'clock. Okay, so the problem was the cooking. Who was going to do the cooking? At that time, I wasn't the greatest cook. I wasn't bad. But in truth, Jim, with his Hungarian genes, was really, he had a paprika chicken that was damn good. Let's put it that way. And he had a good spaghetti sauce too. And so what we would do is we would cook, I'm not kidding, like maybe, 3 gallons of spaghetti sauce. And we would leave it on the pot to simmer. And the spaghetti sauce like lasted a week, right? And it never moved from the oven. You know what a sloppy Joe is?
I love sloppy joes.
Yeah, we had the sloppy joes. Any meat dish that we cooked, we would add the spaghetti sauce to it. And it was like, it improved with age, right? Like 3, 4, 5 days later, all the herbs and olives and everything had settled into the pasta sauce. So it was really, really good. And we worked really hard. And Jim started out okay. And I really put this down to his career that Jim started out okay. Maybe he was 50% plus one after, 11 days, which means maybe 6 games. And then the problem was all of the American players played in open tournaments. That was what we did. That was our tournament experience. You played these weekend events, maybe the 1 week long events, but you didn't play 6 weeks in the tournament, right? That was like Europeans played these big, round robin events. And simply put, Jim ran out of gas and he really finished badly in the field. And it was a real experience for me, my first time going to the Soviet Union and blah, blah, blah. But it was so clearly the difference between the professional Soviet players who, like you say, you're looking to pay your bills, right? Mm-hmm. Jim was looking to pay his bills, but the Soviet players had cars and drivers and apartments that were all provided by the state. And that state support made them real professionals. And Jim, myself, the whole American squad did not. And it was really, I was 19 at the time. It was a real eye-awakening experience for me.
Right, you were still in that zone up until you started working with Korchnoi. Would that be
right.
sort of the case? You saw it, but you didn't get to practice it or experience the
Exactly.
Soviet routine until Victor
Exactly.
took you in.
Exactly. And, although, I quote, did a lot of work, and I'll stand by that I did a lot of work with Jim. In truth, what we would do is we'd get up at 11, we'd probably have something like, let's say, toast and coffee. We'd jump in his car, we'd go to Venice Beach, the big beach where all the muscle guys and all of these girls
Hmm.
would be on rollerblades, roller skates and rollerblades, and we'd be staring, oogling them, for like 2 hours with cappuccinos, enjoying the California sun. And that would usually bring us till about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we would go to a greasy taco stand. The greasier the better, right? We'd have these enchiladas, incredibly good,
Ooh.
incredibly
Yeah, so
good.
stop. I haven't eaten. Oh man,
Oh yeah,
California.
it was
Keep going, keep going. No, I'm
it
okay.
was okay. And then we would get back to his place, usually speaking about 3. We'd analyze for sure till 7. Then we would have our pasta, our spaghetti sloppy joes. And then about 10 o'clock in the evening, we would go into Hollywood proper, just a few blocks away. And they had unbelievable range of movie theaters. It was just incredible. It was like a buck. And you could watch the most incredible, independent movies, premiere releases. I became familiar with Milos Forman and his Czech movies that were blocked in Eastern Europe, like Loves of a Blonde, Fireman's Ball, and a number of his great films that he made behind the Iron Curtain. And then we would get home about 1 o'clock and the day would repeat, So Toe Jam and I, very, very close. And unfortunately, it was about the time of 1984, the U.S. Championship in Berkeley, California, that Jim, the next generation was coming. It was myself and Nick DeFermian and John Fedorowicz and Larry Christensen. And these guys were really, really good and were pushing Jim aside, so much so he decided to put his degree to use, and he went and he became the librarian, working for, the government of California State. And now he retired 3 years ago, and he's having a second wind, a chess career. And what a victory against Vladimir Kramnik, eh?
That
Do,
I haven't seen the
do,
interview. Well,
yeah,
you painted a
doing his
picture.
yeah, doing his patriotic duty to help Wesley and Fabiano on the rating list. And by the way, the players are just kind of going. I need to see your
Yep.
screen because I've got like 2 boards on my screen. Okay, uh, this is really close to resigns, right? Because I mean, it's just so easy for Black to play. The one thing that Ding has done with the move h5 is he's trying to give himself a target on the g7 pawn so that king e7, rook d8 will just win the game for Black. But king e7, he wants to meet with rook g4 and at least, slow Black down from, just chopping all the rooks off on the d file.
Yeah, King E7, Rook G4. No, you painted a picture that
Yeah,
sounded very attractive. The
it was.
Hollywood beach and training and
Yeah.
that sort of routine. I have
It was really it was really during that summer of '79 that I really got to learn a lot about Bobby Fischer. Bobby Fischer stories galore. Of course, at the time, he was living in Pasadena, California, and there were a lot of sightings that Bobby was doing X, Y, and Z. But there was a very, very special lady. I totally fell in love with her. I thought she was an absolutely marvelous person. Her name was Lena Grumet. And a lot of people don't know this about Bobby's life. They know that he was born, that he was raised in New York City, that he learned chess from his sister, that his mom Regina was a little bit awkward personality, and so on. But in truth, in his teens and later years, Bobby lived with Lina Grumet. She was this elderly lady, 70 years old. She ran the Southern California Chess Club out of her home. She lived in this gorgeous home, amazing home. Call it, I don't know, 8-bedroom home with a huge first floor that she invited all of these chess players to come and play chess in the evenings. And we all congregated there. And Lina basically took care of Bobby, raised him as a young man, cared for him, provided for him, laundry, everything. And Lena's best friend was a lady by the name Jacqueline Piatigorsky. They were similar in age, and I got to meet and talk with Jacqueline. And they had these marvelous stories about Bobby, as you could expect both of these ladies to have. And I became very, very intrigued with, what happened to Bobby Fischer? What was he doing? So I learned a lot of stories about Bobby during that period. And he was just a very fascinating personality. And in those days, I was dreaming that Bobby was going to return to chess and play for our Olympic team, because I was getting closer and closer to playing for the Olympiads, right? So, this idea, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we could have Lubos Kovalik, Walter Brown, Bobby Fischer, on our squad? That would have been just great. Is this the current position?
It is. The name you mentioned, Lina Grumet. I never.
Yes.
I started chess in Calgary, but when I started to get better, I would attribute a big part of my growth from playing a lot of chess. But I went to the U.S. and I played a lot of tournaments in California. That was my first foray into international events. I just played the American Open in L.A. I played a few events. There's a tournament in her name. And now that now that puts into context, there's a tournament named after her, the Lina Grumet Memorial or whatnot.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know who she was, and so that adds it. The other lady you named, that was
Jacqueline Piatigorsky. Yeah.
Piatigorsky. That was the Piatigorsky Cup.
Absolutely, the lady from the Piatigorsky.
Very famous tournament.
Yes.
But name dropping all that would be very fascinating to hear people who really knew Bobby firsthand. It's hard to tell, you're right, when somebody is sort of that elusive and that famous, who really knew him, and who sort of is essentially saying what somebody who knew him told them, right? Like a second or third hand experience.
I got it directly from Lina. A lot of people don't know this, at least even in Brad Derrick's book, Bobby Fischer versus the Rest of the World, it's not mentioned, was that game 2 of Fischer Spassky, Bobby gets forfeited with the white pieces. And the match is basically unraveling. It's not going to happen, right? The match is going to be aborted. Bobby's going to be declared forfeit. So what happens is the forfeit has happened. Game 3 is going to be postponed, as like the Bobby's attorney is going to be arguing. The organizers, the Soviets, are going to be gnashing their teeth. Bobby decides to go to a movie, and he watches the movie with Lina Grumet. Okay. So they're in this darkened theater, and they're watching this movie, and I forgot the name of the movie, whatever it is they were watching. And about halfway through the movie, Bobby turns to Lina, and he says, "I bet you're going to try to talk me into staying and finishing the match." Right? And Lina says, "No, I'm watching the movie, Bobby. Please, shh. I'm watching the movie." So this really pisses Bobby off, and he's like sulking. So he waits until the movie is finished to repeat himself. I bet you're just going to try to talk me into finishing the match. And Lena looks at him and she says, no, I know you're going to play and I know you're going to win. We're not having this conversation. And it was like, wow. It was the perfect thing to say. That was exactly what Bobby wanted to hear. That I'm 100% positive you're going to play and I'm 100% positive you're going to win. That's it. We can leave the theater now.
You can tell she knew him quite well, right? Those
Absolutely.
were like that.
That was just it.
You had to tread carefully with Bobby, based on how he'd react to an emotional guy, but.
Right. And it was just, I mean, it was such a beautiful, I mean, she said the perfect thing to Bobby at the perfect time. And, in my world, that match was about to be aborted. And, I'm not saying that Lena Grumet saved it single-handedly or something like that. I'm just saying she made a huge contribution to Bobby continuing the match and making chess history.
She was someone he trusted and respected, and sounds almost a bit of a mother figure.
Oh, without question. Yeah. No. For sure, she was a surrogate mother in many ways, like Lotus Key is for Wesley So. A very, very important, influential lady, and she's just a charmer, by the way. She loved body jokes, and she had a great repertoire of them, and she was just a lovely person to be around. Very, very nice. I mean, that's it. By the way, we have seen h5, king e7, rook g4, rook g8, bishop e2, b6. Black has kept this move. He only wanted to play b6 when he was in a position not to allow rook d6. He's achieved that, and Black's achievements are growing. I mean, his position is steadily improving, and I don't see how Ding is going to prevent Black's idea of just playing rook to d8, chopping a pair of rooks, and getting good knight versus bishop with an extra pawn.
I'll play devil's advocate.
Please, absolutely.
So,
first of all, I know you want to play devil's advocate, but now you got to make a move. It's like, Now, the first thing you got to
I can
ask
discuss
yourself,
what I wanted to do, but I was trying to.
Are you worried about Black even potentially capturing the pawn on a5? Potentially. I mean, in other words, do you really want to play a5 takes b6, right? And open up the
I really do, because your plan of trading off is powerful. And first of all, let's say it's Black's move here. Black plays rook a to d8. I can't even reply rook a1 because of knight b3. But my source of counterplay would be, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep both rooks on the board.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my bishop on f3, and I'm going to try to swing the rook on d1 between. I'm going to shuffle it between the a and the d file. Because if I go rook a1, you go rook a8. If I go rook d1, you go rook d8. If you allow me to stay on the a file, I will put my bishop on f3, and I'll try to check on a7 or put a bishop on c6. And remember, you still have this rook on g8. So I need to accomplish that, and it's the right move order to achieve the right move order. But that's the only thing I see. You got to keep both rooks on the board, and you need to make this bishop useful. And the one way I see it useful
on f3.
Is on f3, where if I start checking, the bishop on a good day can go to c6 with something stable.
With happiness. Okay, so in that case, as you've just described it, you would start with the move bishop f3 then.
Well, bishop f3 is still annoying me because of here.
Rook d8, yeah. And you were mentioning that rook a1 might walk into knight b3, right?
I thought it did, but
you have to just double check the tactics after takes, right?
Funny enough, I don't think I would allow this as Black,
because those pawns are scary. They get to b6 very fast, right?
Yeah.
b6, b7. There's no rook d1 check and rook. No, this is not what black really wants.
Well, I think that's what white has to do. One rook endgames,
Yes.
single rook endgames are terrible. In a single rook
Right.
endgame, black's king will be able to roam a bit, and
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So, and that's just the big difference. The king is a lot closer to the center, combined with the extra pawn, combined with that great knight. So, just gotta be as annoying as possible. And he's done bishop
To
f3,
be
and I think
to
that's
be a
it.
pest.
To be a pest, I think that's a critical line, Yasser. I actually see some
Yeah.
counterplay there. I don't see it being as trivial as I first thought, because the
Right.
rook has to stay on g6
Right.
until black
G8,
gets g8. The only time,
Uh-huh.
if you were to get this rook, let's say on c7, then your
Yeah.
king could start to roam, because rook f4 check, the king can continue to push forward as long as f7. But you need to watch your moves here. It's some precision is
Required.
necessary. I'm gonna keep both rooks. I'm gonna keep my
Mhm.
bishop. And how are you gonna convert this game, Yasser, if your rook is stuck on g8?
Exactly. Well, I feel that at a certain moment I'm going to have to release it with an f5 and a king f7, something of that nature. Okay, so let's be concrete. You just played the move bishop f3. You hit my rook, so rook d8, very logical move. Now you can play rook a1 because we were just mentioning that knight b3 isn't a good line for black, right? That isn't good for black. Okay, so let's go f5.
f5. So
Yeah,
I'm
and just
guessing I'm supposed to do this.
I don't know. Are you going to be happy posted up there? I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
it's a
you
tough
could,
choice here, right?
yeah, you could end up just being stuck.
But
On the other hand, you force me to play king f7, which is maybe a very important tempo that you need for whatever reasons you need them. So a big moment here is what I'm saying. It's not.
I mean, if I put my rook here, Yasser, what's stopping you from just playing e4, from playing king f6 and rolling down the board? That seems like
That's
that's
a
bad.
very
That's
good plan. Yeah, simple plan too.
simple plan. I think rook g6. It's not what I want to do, but
It
let's.
may be forced. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe
So
forced.
I'm gonna throw this exchange in.
Sure. Of course. Trade.
Now I'm gonna go here.
What? I thought you wanted to
Oh,
play rook a7 check.
I did. Then there's rook d7. Maybe I should throw
Precisely.
this.
Exactly. I
Yes,
think you should put your bishop on f3.
that's right.
And now rook a7 check is really, well, that's terrible. So I have to be a little bit more observant. So instead of my move king f7, Eric, I probably have to play rook d7. You can put your bishop on in c6 with a tempo, but at least I'm defending the 7th rank. Munch, yeah. Temporary discomfort, the rook on c7 is not ideal. But okay, king f7, rook d8. That's the agenda.
Would you say I'm making progress here, Yasser?
I'm not sure who's making progress. Still at the moment, it's the jury's out.
But white at
I
least
mean,
has a
you
certain flow compared to before, where you risk drifting down a pawn and just allowing your opponent to walk over you by leveraging trades. Hey, I'm gonna take all
right.
this space here. I got a bishop on c6. I got a rook on
Very
g6,
handsome.
and my
Very
rook on
handsome.
a1 can go to the e, d, or a file.
Right.
What's your ideal setup? If you play king
If I'm
f7, I play
black,
yes.
okay, I want to play king f7, rook d8, and then maybe I'll play knight d3 to f4 to try to trap that
Well, if
rook
you play
on
king
g6.
f7, I play rook
Yeah.
d1.
Okay, then I'll go rook a7.
And let's say I play g3. Like
Okay, let's play some moves. Let's see
okay,
how it
okay.
would all unfold. So rook. Oh, sorry.
Well, I need to make a move.
Yeah,
It's a bit annoying. Let me throw
G3.
this
Go
in.
ahead, play G3. Okay, King F7. Yeah, rook there. Okay, I'll get the A file for now. My rook on F8, pardon me, my rook on G8 is still stupid, as stupid can be. Rook
Whoa!
there. What
Did you see
happened?
that? Did you see that?
You made an illegal move, dude. How did you do that?
I, my computer's lagging, and well,
Allowed you to make an
that,
illegal move.
look, there's one way to equalize Yasser, but I can't say it's ethical.
Nice. Um, okay, so rook d6. You wanted to try, Eric?
I'm double checking.
Okay.
I'm a bit hesitant.
Oh, probably for good reasons, whatever they are. See, I'm thinking that basically white has some pressure, right? And I need to kind of shake off white's pressure by, moving my rook to a more active square from g8, maybe to c8 to c7.
That's the
Re-
manual way of doing it, but I agree.
yeah,
I
to
agree.
release my rook so that it's not just stuck in perpetuity on g8.
I think some moves have been played.
All right, let's have a refresh.
Everyone's claiming it's a draw in chat. I'm seeing lots and lots of
Wow.
comments about that. I
Wow.
mean, they're
No
saying
kidding.
that this is drawn. No, they're not saying the result is
Hmm.
decided, but people are not respecting the pawns, Yasser. What do you tell
I'm
people who don't?
shocked.
What do you tell people who don't respect pawns? You just have to serve them a cold dish, or
Exactly. You
yeah,
just got to beat them and educate them. Uh,
like they do
uh,
not respect that.
that's terrible. How, like, wow. Um, by the way, I'm not saying that this position is won, but I'm saying that before we saw the position when white played h5, that position was won for Levon. Go back to that moment, move 27, rook f8 to c8. Eric, yes, right there. So in my opinion, this position is just won. But maybe after the move
Yes.
h4, uh, Levon was a little bit too flippant with king f8. Maybe he should just play h5.
Putting your
So
pawns
that,
on the color.
well, the problem is those pawns are not vulnerable thanks to this knight on c5. My pawns are on h5, g6. Yeah, just start with h5 so that white
Would you
doesn't
play
have rook.
h5 or would you play g6? Because with this option, yeah, so I can mate
Yes,
h5 with g5,
which is very
or I can
nice.
play g5 in the future without compromising f7 and e6. So h5 or
Right.
g6.
Well, here I'm I might be a little bit concerned about h5, g5, f4, which is also very good for black. All of those moves are very good for black. All of those positions. I'm saying I would have played h5. Okay. And the idea is that if I'm black and I play 28 h5, hold on. Now you're playing two moves for white. How did you do that? You get in, yeah, play h5 for black. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, in this case, you have no rook g4 to tie down the rook. And black's play is very straightforward. He's going to go king f8, king e7, rook d8. And instead of getting his rook entombed on g8, this looks like this should be a walk in the park. Black should win this absolutely, absolutely. Whereas in the game position, uh, white's been given new life.
I mean, it seems like well, g6 I like, but h5 as you described, very logical. They're all improvements over the game
All
because
improvements, yeah.
as a better way to deal with this. It's almost like Levon thought it was winning for sure. He did not take this counterplay seriously. That's the
Seriously,
only way to
yeah.
describe it. He would absolutely
Yeah,
find h5, but he did not take it seriously.
exactly. All right, let's refresh the game position for a second because, again, I would think that Levon's going to win, but I think he's made his task more difficult. Okay, so we have this.
It's like,
Whoa.
well, I'm just closing things. I'm
Okay.
I'm
And by the way, the players are kind of motoring their way right to our line, right?
yes, they are. Well, we've had a pretty good grasp of this game, but I would almost say, yeah, Levon has stumbled. Hard to define. Well, we found exactly where that point was,
Yeah.
but he still retains lots of chances, since
Oh, no
since
question.
since there's
Yeah.
no way for White to trade off pieces. It's all a
Yeah.
matter of Black timing things and whether that's winning or not, or it allows too much counterplay. But White has no way of liquidating. This is a sit still, put your pieces on good squares and wait for
Exactly.
White.
Exactly. And from Black's point of view, he wants this rook on g8 is playing guard duty. He wants to release with this move f5. He wants to be able to play, well, either king f7 or king f6, bring his rook to the open d file, and then utilize his extra pawn. This knight on c5 does a good job of preventing rook a6 as well.
He's gonna play rook g6. You agree, right? That was the
Yeah. If I
path
was
of most
white,
resistance.
yeah, my approach with white would be, oh man, I think I'm losing. I'm losing. I'm going to go down, screaming and fighting as best I can. And rook g6 is a move that makes the conversion task difficult. So I'm I'm not going to be compliant and play a move like rook d4. I'm just going to make it as hard for my opponent as possible. Rook g6 would be my choice.
He's the time differential has diminished to about 10 minutes here. The players will not
Okay.
enter any time trouble because it's move 36 and both
Already.
have over half an hour.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Okay, so what was our line, Eric? We were looking at rook g6, king f7, and
well,
how did we go?
we didn't continue it. I
Yeah.
played rook d1. You played rook
Okay.
a7.
Right. Which
By the way,
my rook on c7 is no great shakes either. I'm decrying my rook on g8, but my rook on c7 is blocked. Sorry, you were going to say.
no, I was just
Yeah.
saying. There's so many electronic products out right now. I do not believe I made the right laptop purchase when I bought a new one last year. But the laptop looks very sexy. It just is not the right
So,
one for a chess computer. But I was so sick of traveling and carrying a huge laptop that would make noises and
they're
just heavy duty and run Fritz on it all day. I was like, you got those people with like the Apple products. They're in a cafe.
there's
They're
this
sipping on an espresso. They're relaxing. They're looking
chill.
all chill. Small backpack. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I just want to be, like that again, like a student. Why do I have to be this chess player lugging around all this equipment? So I bought
right.
like a designer laptop pretty much, and it is not equipped for streaming or chess, but it looks fashionable. So it's sort of I'm
What
suffering
you're
it here. I'm
willing to
suffering it here
sacrifice,
because
huh?
I'm actually lagging while I'm physically moving chess pieces, which shouldn't be
Oh,
the
I see.
case.
Now, are
It's
you a Microsoft Intel guy or are you an Apple guy
um
as far as laptops and
as far as
computers?
laptops,
I'm
I've always bought Windows in my entire
yeah,
life.
I'm the Windows guy too, but my dear friend Jeremy Soman, he's been an Apple guy from day one. Of course, he lived in Beverly Hills, Southern California. So, I mean, it's natural that he had Apple, whereas I lived in Seattle. It was natural I had Windows. But he swears by the Apple products. And now he says that the Apple the Apple hardware, you can run it on a Windows simulation so that all of your,
Chess.
chess
Yes.
database products that don't necessarily run on the Apple operating system can run on the Windows. And he swears by it. He says it's really good. For what it's worth, I know nothing about
Well, I mean,
hardware and software.
but you followed maybe Apple's stock, and you're seeing how
Of
well they're
course.
doing with their brand and their iPhone.
Gadget. Yeah.
Um, there's certain a premium you pay for Apple, but
Yeah.
I can't say anything because first of all, my laptop is Samsung, which is not known for laptops. Uh, I think they make some good TVs and other products,
Yep.
but that says enough. I don't think any top player has a Samsung as a laptop because they are not the calculating beasts like some of the
Yes.
other ones. It's a Samsung ATIV or something in case somebody want to Google it. But it looks nice. It's sort of like a designer laptop, and you can do like some editing on it. But yeah, it's more
Cool.
for taking to college. Going on Facebook, maybe watching chess. But that's okay. For me, it literally doesn't run engines very well, so that's why I say I hardly prepare these days. I prefer just looking at games. I can't use an engine because it just it's too laggy, so it
Uh-huh.
forces me to use my head.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Well, I was like, excuse me, 6 generations ago or whatever it was. I went to St. Louis. Not. Yeah, it was last year, and they had a Best Buy sale, and
Yeah,
I was just Eric. I just couldn't believe. I wanted to cry.
I was with you.
Uh, yeah, exactly. You were. So the very first computer I ever bought was an IBM XT. It was an XT. So that was the generation before the 286, right?
Yes.
And then they came 386, 486, the Pentium chip, and so on. Excuse me.
Ooh.
And at the time it was $4,000.
What year?
And yeah, well, what year?
I need to adjust for inflation.
Let's say 88.
Oh,
Yeah. And the point was, I think it had 512 kbytes of RAM. And I just thought that was the most incredibly powerful thing I could ever imagine. 512 kbytes of RAM. And a couple of megabytes, maybe 10 megabytes of hard drive space. And I thought to myself, I will never, ever, ever fill up my memory. No, you helped. You were around. You helped me buy this Asus computer, which I'm currently using, right? And it's got like, I don't know, some unbelievable speed.
right.
Yeah. What are we talking? Like
Well, we're talking gigabytes first of all, and then we're
gigabytes
talking about
of RAM.
32, 64, 128.
Exactly.
We're talking about
Exactly.
actually terabytes too.
Gigabytes and terabytes. Wow. So, I mean, and so I'm getting this computer that's like 50, 100, 1,000 times more powerful than my original purchase. And I'm buying it for like, I'm not kidding, like $700. And I'm just like crying, I was like born in the wrong period or something. Like, okay. So the players, he didn't play Rook G6, by the way.
Yeah,
He
you
played
played
Rook
Rashid.
G3. If I was black in if I was in Levon shoes, I would have probably played King F6 and said to the guy, look, if you want to, I like my king on a dark square. And if you want to force me to play King F6, I want to see your rook living on G6. What would your approach be if you were in LeBron's shoes in that exact moment? I mean,
After rook g3.
Yeah, I would prefer my king on f6, just in case I ever wanted to play king g5 tricky in the future.
So, yeah, sir, is it possible he didn't play king, he played rook sorry, Ding played rook g3 because rook g6 would have been met by,
You
um,
want to do a knight jump, maybe knight d3 or something clever?
I'm looking at this move. I'm asking to get checkmated. Is there anything I can do here, or you just shut
Hmm?
me down?
uh,
Was it to prevent this option?
no, I think. Sorry, we take it back. Rook g6 would have run into knight d3, Eric,
Right, right,
because
right, right.
knight d3 threatens knight f4, trapping the rook. Rook comes back to g3. I got a fork on e2.
Yes. So that's what. Yeah, it's knight d3. That makes sense. No, it's not
That
king
yes,
d6. You can't asking to get mated.
potentially. Yeah, I think knight d3 was the drawback. Sorry.
Well then, by your
Then we
logic,
understand.
okay, he played rook a7.
Right. The rook came to d1. Ah,
Rook.
now he put
Yeah.
rook to g6.
Yeah.
Okay. So somehow
This.
Levon has finagled the tempo. I don't know what it's worth, but
Yeah, we've had this position on the board, almost identical,
something
right?
very,
Yeah.
very,
Uh,
very, very similar. Yeah.
so, and you talked about here playing, liberating that rook. Well, you have with king f7, playing rook to c8 to c7, moving the rook
Hmm.
on a7 somewhere on the a file, doubling on the a file, and making progress like that, right?
It feels, yes, indeed, that's what I was thinking about it. But it does feel very, very ponderous for black. Um, isn't there some way, some nicer way that we can liberate black's position?
Eric, your
Is
viewers are leaving the stream and going to Best Buy now.
well, you were talking about getting a commercial sponsor. I think Best Buy just became a new.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So retailers are not in a position to sponsor anybody right now.
No, that is true. Amazon is amazing here, aren't they?
the
Um,
the Bay is recovering though. It's still a very
the Bay,
fascinating
yeah,
stock. I've been enjoying the roller
dabbling,
coaster. Yes,
yeah,
I've managed to convince people to join me on a sinking ship. So it's
very good,
always nice because then you have somebody to rant to when
exactly.
the stock goes bad. Yeah.
On that note, by the way, I've been watching on Netflix a new series. Well, at least it's new for me. It's called Frontier.
Ah, it's in Newfoundland.
There
Yeah,
you go, the
yes,
Newfies, right?
yes.
And the idea was the Hudson Bay Company, one
Yeah,
of the oldest,
the oldest
um, the oldest
in North America.
monopoly corporation in North America. And, it is amazing how powerful the Hudson Bay Company was in its history, especially as I'm watching this series. I knew it was the first corporation, but what we would call a corporation in the Western world. Um, but you really have to realize just how wealthy it was, because we're talking tens of millions of pelts, furs. So they were so rich, it's just incredible.
Well, I mean, people talk about like Canada, being how it developed as a country. It was the fur trade. I mean, there were always people here, but what drove like why would you live in Canada when it was so cold, when the
Oh,
US was also a land of opportunity time? The fur trade was super lucrative and it pretty much I mean it plays a big part in how modern day Canada was established. I mean that's
absolutely.
why they were fighting in some way all sorts of battles, but
The Indian Wars, yeah,
there's
sure.
a lot of legacy with the Bay, so that was why I wanted to support the company in some ways, although I mean it's owned by you know a bigger company
Private
now,
investors
private
or other.
American, but it's Canada's yeah oldest company, and it drove the economy for a very very long time. Very interesting.
Absolutely.
But
By the way, instead of trying to get his G8 rook into shape, you have to put. So I got two screens in front of me. I got the
yeah,
yeah
you're
right
seeing the screen. Yeah, yeah.
yeah okay
Yeah.
yeah this so instead of going rook G8 to C8 to C7, I don't know, in a very ponderous way. Um, Levon just chose rook A3, which I like a lot. Not necessarily because of rook D3, Eric. I
Oh,
like the fact that the rook on A3 traps white's rook on G6. There's no rook G3 going backwards now,
right.
right? Okay, that could be a significant factor. Not that I have knight D3, knight F4, because knight D3 does walk into rook G3. But there's just something about control, right? But now, having said that, how is black supposed to improve? Uh, I'm thinking a mistake would be rook d6. I just have to double check
It,
that.
it's
But I
so
think,
funny. Yeah.
but I'm thinking rook d6, rook d3, and you were mentioning how as white needs to keep four rooks on the board. So rook d6, rook d3 would allow black to trade off a
Rook
pair of
d6,
rooks.
rook d6, rook d6, rook d3. I have rook g takes e6.
Ooh,
Oh my, sorry. My computer is dying. Yay!
dying. Oh,
Ah!
no. Don't tell me. Don't tell me you run out of battery energy or something.
No,
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 of
no, no.
course. Brilliant.
It's just
Yes.
getting hot.
Oh, I remember in the old days, I had this, what we called it. It was the jet. It was the sound of jets because my engine would like overheat when it had engines, chess engines running and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so nope, rook d6 is a viable turn, a move then. So rook
By the way,
a3,
rook.
g4.
Apparently, Ding has been playing very accurately. I'm not sure about g4, but up until now, rook d6 was supposed to be a very good move because of that working tactic. And
Right. Speed.
yeah, people were shouting out, yeah,
Phrasing.
Ding's gonna draw all over the chat.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Are you convinced? I'm still a skeptic. I
I
still
think I think
believe.
he's doing an excellent job. In fact, this g4 move
True.
shows that Ding. Well, Black has to take her. And if Black
Yes.
takes, I'm seeing the h5 pawn sort of controlling two of. I'm s- I'm starting to join that crowd, yeah. So I'm starting to jump on the bandwagon because when I'm evaluating the
Yeah.
consequences of this, I don't feel that White is playing down a pawn. He's controlling the two pawns on the king's side. He's got active rooks and an active bishop, and I'm thinking about how do you convert? You need to trade pieces. You can't play g6. There's tactics playing against that.
Okay,
Your king
but
can't roam easily.
I was thinking black would play rook h3 here because you're making a great point that that pawn on h5 is a real bone, a bone in the throat. So can black play rook h3 to get rid of
I
it?
I thought you were asking to get your rook trapped here, but I might be
Oh my
wrong.
gosh, that would be terrible,
I
of
might
course.
you
King
might be
e7,
surviving. Yeah, I was trying to trap you, but you got g5. Uh,
g5
but
is a good
let
move.
me see.
Yeah.
There's no moves here, huh? Feels like there should
Well,
be something.
there's moves. I don't know what.
Good. You don't know about good moves.
Yeah.
Well, that is annoying. I'll give you that. Maybe there's something
I,
even more
I,
accurate
I-
here.
I'll keep my honorable title as a pest intact.
Sorry, I'll revisit that.
Okay.
So rook
What did you
g4.
just do? Rook g4, rook h3. Check, king e7. That makes sense. And here I was going to play g6 or g5. Sorry, G7, G5. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry.
Just bear with me.
Of course.
The
Is your computer dying?
I mean, it's not gonna die, but it's
It's not living a good life either, though, right?
trying to make do, right?
Yeah. It's a dog's life, Eric. You can't do it.
It's not liking your move.
Oh, there you go. You're just so close. You're so tantalizingly close to being able to making the move you want. I mean, it's like I want to reach out and help you and pull you off the cliff or something. Is not letting you play G5?
There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Take.
Swap,
Take.
swap. Yep. Okay, now my rook on h3 feels like it needs help. Rook f6.
Right.
Give me a trade so I can.
But if I play king g2 and rook d6. Isn't that
perfectly great? That's a legit draw. Yeah. King g2.
Three pawn islands and yeah.
Not good. Nope. This is no problem. No problem at all. So does that mean I can't play rook f6 then? Ugh.
That's
He
correct.
has taken.
Yes, well, it was the only move because you can't allow g takes f5 followed by bishop d5 check.
Right.
Rook g4 seems like the only move because any intermediate. I mean, Black's king can always go to e7 and he's not getting mated. No way.
That's for sure.
So I think it's taking. Yeah. So I think we might even see that variation.
Okay, but could I do it maybe a different way? If you take on g4, and I think that's a great move.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I was about to trick myself. I was about to play g5.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Pawn takes, rook takes, bishop e8 check.
I saved that. I thought you'd already seen it though.
I had not. I wanted rook h3 to win the h pawn for free, but this one is bad news, right?
For sure. And even without that tactic, I just want to discuss the rook and bishop against rook and knight endgame. Let's say so rook takes g6 here fails to bishop e8 check. But let's say we traded for whatever reason on g6 and I play rook d6.
Right. And you're basically a pawn down, but those pawn islands for black make the win very awkward.
It seems very hard to win because the only way to
no question.
It's not a good version. So I'm starting to trend much more to the direction of this being.
Well, yeah. Well, it's remarkable for me that Levon allowed the move h5, which really not only gained space, it gave White's pieces a purpose, right? If Black had just blocked that h4 move with either g6, your suggestion, h5, my suggestion, he wouldn't be finding himself in this entanglement on the king side, and everything would have returned to the control of the d file and the queen side theater. In short, h4, h5 has allowed White to make the king side the primary action. Too much action is going on over there.
I agree.
And the trumps on the queen side aren't being felt by Black.
I have to say that I would have very likely made the same mistake. So this game has demonstrated how Ding has played has been sort of eye-opening for me. He did open the a file and he's kept two rooks on the board.
Yeah.
But I can see myself easily underestimating just
putting
a rook on g4 and just that primitive idea, right? Just
right.
Okay, I'm just gonna attack your g7 pawn.
What's the problem?
You can defend it in numerous ways. And I'm just going to ignore the fact that you have a great knight on c5, that you can gain the a file. I can see myself letting that happen. I mean, there's
Yeah.
something to be said about, but seeing this work out for white, now in the future I'll have the awareness. But I cannot say I've seen this example so much when there's been so few pieces on the board, and it's
Hmm.
in the Caro-Kann you get a pawn on h5 and whatnot, but
Yeah.
that's usually when the king is close to the pawn and there's only rooks nearby. What's the issue? I can play king f8,
Right.
I can play king f6, and a rook's usually not efficient just making a basic threat like that rather than grabbing a file or something. So it's been a bit eye-opening to me how difficult it is for black to play
Use this extra
with
pawn.
such
Yeah.
an excellent knight on c5.
Yeah, and that was the other thing that's very confounding. We were talking about the good knight on c5, but it's turning out actually that the bishop actually on c6 is really a good the better minor piece, at least at this moment. Can we see that line we were looking at before, Eric? It went rook g4, rook h3, rook f4 check, right? It was something, yes, here, over, back to f4, yes.
I'm playing only moves, right?
I think so. King went to e7, yeah.
Wait a second.
Sorry.
Um, my only other question, and I don't think it's a good one, is if bishop e4 is possible. How bad is this rook endgame? But maybe it's extremely bad. Knight e.
Maybe.
I just want to play rook d7 check
Right.
and get something active.
But you're dropping a lot of peshkis, aren't you? Or
Uh,
maybe you're just making a draw. I was going to go rook
yeah.
h5, yeah.
So rook h5.
Okay, but now I have a 3 versus 1.
Yeah, that's I agree.
That's not a
unnecessary.
good
That's
that's not a
unnecessary.
good deal for white.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I'll go back.
to right. And I went king e7 and you went bishop g2, right? Bishop f3, sorry, to protect the pawn. Now here I just wanted to look at this position with fresh eyes for a second after bishop f3, because I have e5 potentially here.
Yes, e5 followed by rook to f5.
Right, so I was looking at e5, rook f5, rook f8.
What?
Hmm,
Aren't you dropping a pawn?
I have no idea. Probably I am.
Rook takes e5 check.
Rook takes e5 check, king f6, rook
e3.
3. Aha, you're right. You're right. Okay. So how can I do this again? Okay, let me hit you with g5, Eric. g5, please.
Hit me with g5 again. Okay.
Okay. g5, hg. Oh no, now you have rook f7 check. I wanted to play here's what I was thinking I was going to play. I was thinking you were going to take en passant.
Right.
I was going to play rook takes g6 check. You were going to move your king, and I was going to go e5 in this position.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you would play rook f5. I was going to go e4.
Yep.
I don't believe it, but at least I'm exercising my material advantage. I'm a pawn up. Yay.
Give a check, Yasser.
That's annoying. King f6. What? What? There's a rook h1 check. No. The rook's on d1. It can be defended. Oh no! Oh no! Draw. Yeah, that's easy. Sorry. Rats. Um, wait. Is this easy, Eric? King takes e5, bishop takes g6, rook check. I still have the good knight versus the bad bishop.
Yeah, but I'm not confident in that.
There's not a, yeah,
It,
the position's too reduced, yeah?
yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I'll accept that that's a draw. Yeah. Wow. Well, I haven't found anything for Levon that is encouraging, let's say.
Well, he's played rook h3. Again, guys, sorry for the lag. It's well, he's played bishop e4. I wonder if that's the best
Whoa.
move. Maybe that endgame is okay. Rook f4 maybe he thought was a bit clumsy, giving just relying on tactics. It's true. It's a bit. It's not as easy to calculate as this, right? Either Ding sees something or he hasn't. I think he does see something here, Yasser.
Well, let's see. Let's see it. Well, because I don't see it. So knight e4, rook e4, rook h5.
Yes.
Uh, very straightforward forcing play, right? Oh, by the way, I also have rook h1. No, I don't have. Don't. No, no. I said it wrong. Check. King up. Yep. Yep. Here, I don't know, Eric, but I'm thinking rook e5, and if I could get 3 versus 1 and my rook on g8 to, let's say, b1, I'm thinking that's real winning chances.
Even with their structure, this isn't a nice 3 versus 1.
It's not a nice, but it's 3 versus 1. I'm going to get...
But how does your king have shelter? Because I see a position...
Show us a line. You take the rook or not?
I do.
Okay. Rook takes...
I do. Yes.
I do. Rook takes, king takes, rook takes b6. Rook d8. And I don't see how you prevent me from getting a rook behind the pawn.
Oh, you definitely get to have fun behind me, but I don't think it leads to any real pleasure because of your bad pawn structure.
So you're thinking rook d2, rook b8, rook b2,
rook d2,
rook d2, yeah, rook b8, yeah, rook b2, and you're going to push your pawn to b7, and you're going to claim that my king can't hide.
Right, precisely.
Ah, it's a good argument.
It's this specific 3 versus 1 because, I mean, you can play if you play g5, that's a draw. If you don't play g5, well, actually, I don't know what your setup would be.
Right.
You're either losing the e, you have to pick your poison, yeah.
Which pawn? So we're looking at rook b2, b6, and we're saying white is ready to play b7, and wherever black moves his king, once the white pawn gets to b7, if black moves his king to f4, white's ready to play rook to e8 and trade his b7 pawn for the e6 pawn.
Yeah.
Very good point.
It works. It's not pretty, the f pawn, but this should work. You can't.
It draws a draw.
Hold everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It would be a much bit different kettle of fish if you take the h6 pawn, put it on the f6 square, then black's winning chances are huge. Here, you're right. I'm losing either h6, g7, or e6. Pick your poison, as you say.
Let's check on the current position. So you're all aboard the draw right now.
I'm getting closer. I'm still not 100%, with the whole team. You need somebody to pilot here a little bit, but I'm warming up to the fact that White's task has really improved. I mean, he's really
I mean,
He's done well. He's done well. I mean,
some
he really, what else
right,
to, how else to put it?
because like sometimes you see position, oh the evaluation, it's closer to a draw, but the way the defender's playing does not inspire confidence. The way Ding
Right.
is playing leads me to think he's going to be playing the right moves because I think it's closer to a draw. But whether they'll play the moves is the real question, and I think he is because
Yeah.
he's demonstrated a very very good handling of a very tough position. He's outplayed Levon
He
uh,
has.
from the poor endgame that he received.
Okay, let's try again, Eric. I'm going to go knight takes e4, rook takes e4, rook takes h5. And here I'm going to try to take advantage of white's king. I don't know exactly if it works. Uh, did you play check last time, or what did you do? Or
I
did you
gave
go
I
rook d6
I gave a
immediately?
check. I gave a check. I was
Okay.
yeah saying hello.
Tickle. King f6, right? And here you played rook b6, and last time I played rook to e5, right?
That's correct.
Right. Uh, Geez, I just don't have any. I don't have the timing I need to. I was thinking if I could play with four rooks or not, but I don't think
Your king is also in trouble. I mean, you can't freely
exactly.
play those rooks because
You're right. Right. That's exactly right. My king's in trouble too. Huh. All right. Um, okay. I'm definitely warming up to the draw. Definitely.
no, all these, when you take away these queenside pawns, I mean, you just breathe a huge sigh of relief. Like just say rook takes b5, rook
Check.
e4.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where the king goes. I mean,
Rook
just
takes
rook takes b6
draw.
is
Yeah.
2-on-1 on the same side,
That's
and
that's very easy.
know
Yeah.
your rook endgames because once you learn those, you realize, well, being a pawn down isn't the end of the world. When you at least you have a goal in mind, and that's get rid of those queenside pawns, and a lot of these are drawn with just rooks on the board. Yeah, sir.
Agreed. I know it's terrible cold,
Yes.
huh?
Feeling bad. I guess you won't become an Isle of
Yeah.
Man.
No,
Yeah.
I'll probably be grabbing a cup of tea and nursing something. Let me go back to that position.
Aw.
Um, just a few moves. It was with the four rooks. So we're looking at 96, pardon me, 94 rook e4, rook h5, check, king up. Okay, let's just play this one for a little bit because I'm wondering about the four rooks. Check, king f6, rook d6, rook e8, rook takes b6, right? Okay,
Yes.
so it's 3 versus 1. Excuse me, this is really terrible cold. Excuse me, all to heck. Sorry, everyone. Um, so rook g5 check. Let's have some fun. And let's push the pass pawn for a moment. h5. Go, baby, go. I'm banking on the h pawn.
See, as long as you're still snickering, I know you still got some moves.
Tricky
You
ideas.
might be sick, but when you say, "Let's have some fun,"
It's terrible.
I uh, I don't
I have
trust
to
you.
respect that,
I
huh?
don't
Yeah.
trust you. You're still a pawn grabber, even if you're weakened. You're still a
Yeah,
dangerous pawn grabber. And
totally. So I'm hoping that if you play, I don't know, a move like rook b7,
well, this prolongs the game. The question is,
yeah,
can we prolong the
then
game? And this is it.
yeah. So if you play rook b7 for argument's sake, I'm just hoping that I'll be able to play rook um, a8 and do some harassing of white's king with the
With two
four rooks.
rooks, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
four rooks, yeah.
Not saying it's winning at all. No, 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 nothing like that. But what you just said, I'm prolonging the game, and just I'm testing white to prove the draw.
Yasser, I like that line
Yes,
you gave because everything else looked empty.
easy, easy. Those two versus one positions, the f2 pawn is basically one of the best pawns you can have in a two versus one structure. So those really offer no chance.
Yeah, the line you gave, I feel like I misplayed that because when you get behind me with both rooks,
Right.
when you get behind me with both rooks,
You
it
want
can
to
be
cover your backside.
yeah, yes, it's a bit of a different feeling.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's not, I can't recall end games there specifically, and
Well, there is one ending where I think you really needed to avoid because the straight rook ending where I have the pawn islands, you're very unhappy to defend. But go ahead, give my screen again, that single
mhm,
screen.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
Because knight e4, rook e4, right? Rook h5, rook check, rook d6.
1 second.
Go ahead and play through that variation
Yeah,
once more.
I just have to get the
Do
laptop
you get
to
get the
cooperate.
controls? Okay. Knight e4, rook e4, rook h5, rook check on d7.
Hakasito.
Hakasito. King up, rook d6, rook e8. Yeah, you took my pawn, I gave you a check, you play king
I
f1, I
feel
play
like
h.
is King F1 a step in the wrong direction?
No, I think king h1 might be a big step in the wrong direction. You could get
That's what I thought.
potentially made it, right? Okay, I went h5, right?
Yes, you did H5.
That's
You're just stabilizing and
right. But
waiting for.
here at least, what was the end game I think you have to avoid? It was rook b7. I don't know. I'm just going to move my rook to say c8. It doesn't matter. Or a8. Doesn't matter. And I don't think you should play rook check and allow me rook f5. In other words, you let my pawns become a cohesive group, right?
Well, let me go back. Yeah, so I'll play rook back to B6.
Very good choice. Yes. Very, very good choice. So, uh-huh. Oh, darn. I don't have time to set myself up. Okay, I'll do it a better way then. Okay, I'll go back to e8, rook e8. You'll go rook b7. Uh, I'll go rook f5. So my idea is to target the f2 pawn.
How do you manage that when I can always block the checks?
Well, I go rook f5 now. Whose turn is it?
It's yours. So,
Rook f5, yeah.
how are you going to target the F2 pawn?
I want to go rook c8, rook c2, or rook
If,
c1 check.
and if I challenge those moves with rook E2?
Um, Good point. Well,
You need to make progress and at some point get into a position where maybe you can get into that 3 versus 1, but with a
with
lot
the h pawn
with
up
the
the
H
board.
pawn up the board. Well, yes, if you have the H pawn,
A little bit deeper
it would
in.
have to be like H3 or something where you can almost.
Okay, but what's your exact move
Well,
here, Eric?
that's the question. I think there is a move here, but this is you're posing a problem
At
because
least I,
yes,
something practical.
because yeah, B6 takes away my rook B6
And
opportunity.
then I can move my rook away.
I'm yawning a lot. But I'm not. I'm not. There's there's yawning, but there's also yawning because you're sitting in a chair all the time.
Right.
And that's I'm a very active chess player. When I make a move, I get up as soon as possible, or like I need to walk. So it's almost as
Right.
if if I had a desk here, ideally it'd be almost those standing desks, because just sitting in a chair
Well,
being stationary is like the worst thing for you.
well, I know you like the techno music where basically, you're just dancing and dancing and it's nonstop. These days I have to be very careful because I get these very long flights. 9-hour flight, 8-hour flight, uh, uh, transatlantic flight, doesn't matter. Amsterdam, Seattle, for example. And, sometimes you just sit and watch, your movies. You just don't get up enough,
Yeah.
right? And that can be really, like, I don't know how many millions of cells you lose just by atrophying in your chair on these flights. Okay, I'm, yeah, I think normally White's going to draw this position, but I think there's still some squeezing potential for Black. That's why I can't just sign on to the draw and say,
you,
it's a draw.
you can't sign a peace treaty
I
with
can't sign the peace treaty
with the Canucks.
with a Canuck, especially the men and women of Manitoba have to prove it. Um,
Well,
all right,
they're
Eric,
past move 40. Speaking of that, they're past
they
move 40. The
made the
game,
time control.
Levon is most likely digging in deep. He's seeing lines that actually just lead into drawn endgames. He needs to
Sure.
find a line that still gives some life. And
Right.
I think Yasser's pointed out one that poses some issues. Perfect time to take a break.
Yes, absolutely. I will want to do that. Um, the other thing, I don't think I believe it myself. Uh, is it absolutely necessary to take? I don't like this bishop coming to h7 into g6, so I'm kind of thinking it's absolutely necessary to take the bishop, because otherwise the only alternative would be rook b3, and I don't know. I'm thinking I need to take that light square bishop. What's your thought?
Yes. I mean, simply yes. If you play rook b3, I can just put my bishop back on c6, and
Uh-huh.
you're faced with the same issue. You can't make progress if I can just
The key
control. I
bet,
control your position. The h5 pawn is
right.
actually very effective. Yeah.
Yeah, and those pawns on G7. Boy, I bet you Levon is really regretting allowing White this H5, because this would be almost a second. Well, I'm not going to say disaster, but you know, I really thought this endgame position was winning. I mean, I shouldn't mince my words. I really thought
You
that.
claimed it. You claimed it.
Yeah,
Well, this is on the
yeah.
board, Yasser.
Okay, he ended up having to take. All right, I'm going to take a break. I'll be back in just a few minutes.
Sounds
And
good.
we got a rook ending.
Oh, we got these moves coming in quickly.
Yeah, they're flowing. They're catching up with us. I think Levon is going to have to simply play. Well, rook takes b5. That's a straightforward draw. If he wants to keep the game alive, I think he has to play rook e8 and just allow the loss of the b6 pawn and just play. Oh my
Yasser?
gosh, rook e5. These going right into the ending that we kind of gave up on, and we thought this was a draw.
He thought rook e8 was just too passive, or like it somehow
I'm
didn't believe. He,
reasonable approach, but we thought trade rook
uh,
b6. Maybe he shouldn't put his rook on b2, Eric. Maybe he should just keep his rook on the eighth rank and just say, okay, h5, g5, h4, let's go. Oh,
right. We're trying to. We know how good Levon is. That we're like he's just not entering. When you're up a
he's not.
pawn, you have a duty
Yeah,
to torture your opponent, and
absolutely.
and he knows that. So why would he willingly go into this endgame? Is what we're trying to discover.
Right.
The moves are coming in super fast, though. We might have to, might have to
Really? Yeah,
stay.
it might. Yeah.
Might have to.
Well, I better I
Yeah.
better take it
Okay.
better take the break quickly in
Okay.
this case. Hold on.
Yes. All right. Bit surprising. This should be a draw. A very simple draw actually. But we'll wait for a few more moves to come in. I wanted to thank some of our recent subscribers and donors. With my low-tech setup, let's see what I can find. So if today is drawn, which looks very likely, we have tiebreaks tomorrow. And if you missed the last tiebreaks, especially Levon Aronian against... Actually, both semifinals went into tiebreaks and they were exciting as heck, in my opinion. You don't want to miss it, because that's the fast time control, and it's for a lot of money. First prize is 120,000 US dollars. Wanted to thank Sam Black Pride Hyde with the subscription. Also Curafin 1984. Donks Chessbrah 94. Sweden. Slightly red green. I'm not sure if that's a tribute to the famous Canadian television series, but I assume it is, the Red Green Show. Ugoy, and Daryl Bertrand, familiar name from Ottawa. Thanks, Daryl. And 7 Wixer with a subscription. Cheers, guys. Thanks for supporting the broadcast. I know it's a terrible microphone. I can actually test if it's... Okay, I'm going to test something. I'll be right back. Let's see if it's better than a normal microphone. Test. Can you guys hear me? How is the caller? Let's mute Yasser. Can anybody hear me? How is this? Better? Worse? Let me know. You guys get to see Yasser behind the scenes. You get to... Is it good? Is it bad? Worse. How's this? Is that better? Do you want to hear me? I can mute myself for the rest of the show. I can be as loud as possible. That's not an issue. That is not an issue. Yeah, laptops are getting pretty good now. The webcam and built-in mic that laptops come with are getting better and better. You want to hear me sing Celine Dion? Yeah, I can do that. You want me to do karaoke Celine Dion? My heart will go on. Is that what you want with this microphone? Uh-oh. Some bad news, guys. The game the game's been drawn. Uh, the game has been drawn. F3. It's really not a difficult draw, unfortunately. I mean, we I think Levon just didn't see any didn't think Ding would blunder and didn't see any way for him to realistically get winning chances. Well, I don't have to wake up early tomorrow. Robin is doing the broadcast tomorrow. He has class today, and as a friend, got to cover him. But you get Yasser tomorrow as well. So one more day of Yasser. I mean, guys, Yasser's sick, and all you guys can think about is your own selfish desires, which is to get more commentary from Yasser when he could be recovering.
I
Hey,
took
Yasser.
my mom's advice for when suffering from a cold. My mom's British, so just to let everybody know, it's mint tea and honey. Can't go wrong, you know.
Mint tea and honey. I could use that too. I'm actually a little bit sick as well. I was just so exhausted. The flight from Montreal to Isle of Man was, I mean, the sequence was so bad, Yasser. Like, terrible flight. Well, flying to JFK,
Lucky.
just flying to the U.S.
Oh,
Okay, first of all, this game is drawn. They already agreed to a draw.
dead, dead, dead. Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Flying to the
Okay,
U.S. just to connect. So I have to go through immigration, even though I'm not staying there. Okay, just
right.
very, very nice. JFK, whatever, big airport, not the most pleasant. Then the flight to Dublin was the worst aircraft I've like ever been on with Delta or KLM or SkyTeam. They gave us a really bad airplane. There wasn't the
Really.
entertainment system wasn't working. The seats were the
Oh,
smallest possible, and it's an overnight flight. And yeah, it was just really bad. Um,
ooh,
and then we
brutal,
had a
brutal.
6 hour layover in Dublin. It
Six
was
hours.
it was
Oh,
it was bad. It was 3 flights, but they were not nice flights, and we had been waking up early and working a lot beforehand. So we just
exactly.
came in. Hopefully, Amon starts finding his rhythm because I know he came in very tired as well. That was the drawback of covering the World Cup was we were the last people to
You,
arrive,
your late
and we
arrivals.
have jet lag. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I had read a article about the Isle of Man tournament, and of course the random pairing of the first pairings and how funny that was. But I read this article where uh, uh, it goes there's a guy registering, and he goes, and the arbiter asks the guy, he says, "Okay, so where are you from?" The guy goes, "Norway."
I
Magnus
mean,
entering the tournament, and the arbiter didn't recognize the world champion.
I mean, I
That was
think
hilarious.
3 girls I've dated know who Magnus is, and they don't even play chess. He's
Exactly.
actually fairly well known. They've done a great job of marketing him. When he did the fashion, when he did the modeling, I mean, he was on billboards
With
in Canada.
and
He
well,
was,
no, G Star Raw is actually here. They've got their headquarters in Amsterdam, and the city was covered with Magnus Carlsen posters. I actually even briefly, I'm ashamed to admit, considered going to G Star Raw and to just get a poster
Yes,
of
or why don't you
Magnus.
go further and buy some of their jeans and buy some of their denim jackets and just the
Yeah.
whole shebang.
Well, I mean, at my age, I'm not supposed to have the Jimmy Dean look. In my age, I got to wear the banker suits and the ties, Um, so it wasn't a fit. But the poster was cool. Magnus had this very, like,
He is a distinct face, so usually
right,
people remember who he is. He has a distinct look,
sure,
and he's a
yeah,
chess whiz. And his Netflix documentary, excellent
it was
stuff
brilliant.
for even for non-chess people, which is always the most important in my opinion. That it
Absolutely.
was viewable for the general public. Um, no, you
I
got to know who
strongly
Magnus is.
recommend.
That is bad
Yeah, yeah, that was bad. That was bad, bad, bad. No, but the film Magnus, or the documentary, as you say, I enjoyed it tremendously. I thought it was one of the best productions featuring chess I've ever seen.
for sure. No, so that was a funny story for sure. I saw
Yeah,
Magnus yesterday. I spoke to him a bit after his game with Jeffrey. He seems very relaxed and
3-0,
very
perfect
relaxed,
start.
business as usual, having fun. Yeah. So today he replied with first move knight c6 against e4.
Nimzovich.
So Magnus is here experimenting and having fun. He's clearly not preparing too much. He's going on hikes and things like it. Yeah. Speaking of Isle Man, okay, so we're done with the World Cup, guys. It was a draw. The match is
We're
tied.
gonna we're gonna have tie breaks tomorrow, Eric. Are you
You and
up for
Robin,
that?
you and
Or
Robin. Unless it goes really deep, then maybe I have to fill in if it
because
intrudes
he's
on
got
one of his
classes.
finance classes. But
Yes.
otherwise, no, it's the Dutch boy.
Well, I've given Robin his marching orders. It basically goes like this: nature abhors a vacuum, and we lost a very, very, very important sponsor, Joop van Oostrum. So I was explaining to Robin that he's got to graduate his financial courses, become a hedge fund manager, much in the style of, let's say, Rex Singfield, become a billionaire, and fill the vacuum that Joop's departure has created. And Robin understands that that's his duty. That's what he's got to fulfill.
He does. But yeah, so let me ask you: you're a billionaire.
Right.
Why would you touch chess
Because
with
you
the
love it.
current right? But you, you with he loves it and he wants
Basically,
the game to grow. But if there's people hindering that, I mean, there are a lot of good ways for Robin to spend cash, even though
yes.
there's a passion for the game. Uh,
Yes.
chess has a history of scaring away people with good intentions and money.
Well, the problem that existed, maybe it still exists, I mean, I'll leave it to others to decide, is essentially in my whole career. In 1982, I was dabbling as, let's say, a professional. In 1982, Campomanes became the FIDE president. And literally, after Frederick Olofsson stopped being the FIDE president, FIDE at times, it really, really felt like that they were sabotaging, the world's best players. And at times, I really feel that FIDE has not fulfilled its role, which it should properly be doing regarding the World Championship and the World Championship cycle. And Joop van Oostrum, who absolutely dearly loved chess, I mean, he was approached essentially by Campomanes on numerous occasions to say, hey, why don't you sponsor a FIDE World Championship match? And yeah, you just said, I don't want to support the cycle. And that was it. And I feel that, unfortunately, the same thing has basically existed in my whole professional career. That a lot of what I would consider great Western sponsors, a Bessel Koch, I tried to convince Bessel to run in 2006 in Torino for the FIDE elections and failed. Then I was really shocked when I got a call one day from Bessel and he said, okay, I'm running for the FIDE presidency. I said, dude, I've been talking to you for the last, year to do this. And I was absolutely thrilled and delighted that we had such a great candidate. And he did badly in the election. So I think that also scares off a lot of would-be Western billionaires that love chess.
Yeah, no,
it's bad.
No, it's got to take things into your own hands.
Yeah.
Pretty much, and well, so
there you go.
I'm trying to play my part in that, but with the more transparent and not just more transparent, but with proper, I don't know.
No, you
mission
use
statement. I mean, FIDE yeah. was more.
No, I think
global idea. I don't know.
Yeah, you use the word very well. Like very recently, I was reading an article. Really, I have no insight or knowledge. I would share it if I had it about it. But I was reading an article that Oslo, Norway, the government, I guess the regional government or the city government of Oslo, was considering a bid for the next World Championship match, the upcoming World Championship match. And by Norwegian law, whenever you use government money, taxpayer money, you have to have a transparent bidding procedure. Well, Aegon has been tasked by FIDE to be their commercial arm, let's just put it that way. And Aegon said, no, we're not going to have a bidding. We want to talk privately with would-be sponsors. And Norway had to withdraw from a bidding procedure that didn't even take place because by law, they're required to have a transparent auction. So they withdrew. And it's sort of like, holy cow, like, wouldn't you, as a professional player, want to see, I don't care, a €3 million budget sponsored by the city of Oslo? Well, of course you would, right? Where you know who the sponsor is and it's very clear, and Norway would be perfect, right? Just as Chennai was perfect for Vichy. And that experience is what, unfortunately, I know so very well my whole chess career.
Well, speaking of this year, there's probably not going to be a World Blitz and Rapid. I'm not sure if you've heard.
No, I didn't.
End of September, there's no bids, and they just announced open bidding recently. It's looking very likely that there will be no World Blitz and Rapid, even though, objectively speaking, that's an event that has a lot of potential. That we would all love to see. That has a lot of potential for wider appeal and could be. There's a lot of ways you could experiment with that, but it's an event that always should be on the calendar and as a priority in 2017. But there was no real effort to do so there, at least transparent effort, and it's a pity because I was planning on playing in that.
Yeah. Oh my. Okay. So
but again, it's that terrible kind of to me. Blitz and Rapid.
Yeah, it reinforces everything I've just said because, of course, Blitz is a very attractive. Well, it's the most popular form of chess. I mean, it's played by amateurs who aren't USCF members or Canadian Federation members, and it's the most popular form of chess. And not to have a Blitz World Championship, that's crazy. Of course there should be.
Yeah, I'm
But there you go.
disillusioned, Yasser. So
Disillusioned. Somebody asked me on a previous show why I retired. I retired in 2003, and I was explaining, well, at the time there was a split in chess. We didn't even have a unified world champion. We had Kasparov, Kramnik, and let's say Kazimzhanov as world champions, Kramnik and Kazim. Gary is the world's number one. And the sponsors were like, it
what's
felt
one?
like a boxing. It felt like a boxing
Except without the money.
without the money. And sponsors were leaving chess, and I was like, man, this is terrible. I don't even know how I can even play in the cycles. So that's why I quit. We're not there, but at times it feels like, we got real problems with the World Championship cycle.
I've spent hundreds of hours this year trying to pull in a big fish for
Yes,
a good brand. It's a it's a struggle, but because I like chess, that's the motivation to do so. It's a lot easier to
of
sell
course.
other things to
Right.
brands than chess. But it's something I'm
Yeah.
personally interested in. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
it's it's
it's
a
rough,
hard
huh?
it's such a hard sell
Yeah.
with the current state of affairs, and I don't know, wouldn't
Yeah.
put my money in it in its current state.
Exactly so. And I remember a very horrible story. I shouldn't even share the story. It's so bad. It's like one of my worst experiences ever in terms of getting sponsorship for chess. It was March of 2003. And you have to go back in your mind and just think about March 2003. What was happening in the world in March 2003? Well, I'll tell you. So I'm sitting at home in Amsterdam and I get a call. It's a guy, it's a cold call essentially. And he introduces himself. His name is Philip Ross, and he wants me to come to London to discuss uh, the unification matches. We had signed the Prague Agreement the year before, and we were going to arrange a match between Kasparov and Ponomaryov, and a match between Kramnik and Leko, and the winner of the two matches would play for the unification of the World Championship title. So Philip wanted me to come to London to discuss this prospect, and I said, no, I don't want to go. I didn't want to go. I was there like 2 weeks earlier with Dato Tension Nam, and no, I didn't want to go. He says, like, what's the problem? I said, well, maybe there's a good Law and Order show on tonight. And he said, well, look, come to London. Your flight's at 11. It's a half an hour flight. I'll pick you up, we'll bring you to lunch, and you'll be back by 5 for the show. And I thought, damn, that wasn't bad. Okay, so we meet, very nice gentleman, and he introduces himself. He was born in South Africa, Joburg, and his company was the biggest company for marketing in Formula One, the most expensive sport in the world. And he had been the sponsor behind Brain Games. Remember the original Kramnik Kasparov match in 2000?
Well, I wasn't
Well,
into chess at the time, but when I've looked back on it, I noticed Brain Games was a big
well,
sponsor.
right.
I don't
So
know
that
anything
was it.
about Brain Games.
So that was his initiative.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, and he was the guy who wrote the checks. Okay, so he was explaining to me that HSBC, Hong Kong Shanghai Bank Corporation, one of the largest banks in Europe and for that matter the world, its CEO really liked chess, and he was carefully following the Prague agreements accord for the unification cycle. And HSBC wanted to organize the unification match and give £5 million.
£5 million.
£5 million for that event and prize money and whatnot. And I said, Philip, don't do it. And he went, what? I said, don't do it. And he said, well, why not? I said, I'm not worried about the unification match. I'm worried about the two matches that take place preliminary before the unification match. Do this. Do £1 million and have one of the matches in New York at the HSBC building in New York. Give another £1 million in prize fund and have the other match in Hong Kong. Then give $2 million in prize fund for the match in London, the unification match, and then use $1 million for, the budget, for the organizing budget, the hotels, the travels of the players, the opening, closing ceremony, and whatnot. And Philip looks at me and he says, will the players willingly pay for £1 million and £2 million in prizes? And I go, yeah, that way you can be sure that there will be a unification match. And he goes, okay. So he starts writing out on a piece of paper. I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm writing an MOU. I said, that's brilliant. But Philip, I can sign it, but it's meaningless. He says, what? He says, I'm not a manager for the players. I can't speak for the FIDE. I can't, we can fill out an agreement between ourselves, but it doesn't have any impact. He says, well, what do we do? I hadn't brought any clothes or packing or anything. And it was just after the Bled Olympiad, and I had in my wallet the business card of Kirsan with his private cell number that he had written on the back. So I pulled out my wallet, I pulled out his business card, and I gave it to Philip, and I said, well, we got to call Kirsan and get him to agree. That's what happened. So on the spot, we called Kirsan. Kirsan's all really excited. He said, of course, I'll come to London. This is brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Let's go. Okay. So March 2003, this is like a week after I have had my meeting with Philip, Kirsan comes to London. And he's picked up at the airport. They go down to the HSBC building, beautiful glass, steel, gleaming building. They go into a private elevator, right up to the executive conference table, huge table, like 25 people from HSBC sitting on one side. There was Philip, Kirsan, and Barrick, the secretary of Kirsan, on the other side. And the guy goes ding, 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 ding on a little glass. He says, hello, everybody. Welcome to the HSBC. We're here today to talk to the FIDE about a world championship sponsorship for 3 matches. And under the advice of Grandmaster Yasher, it is proposed that the 3 matches take place and just as I've described them. And the guy turns to Kirsan and says, what's your reaction to our proposal? Kirsan says, I'm in favor. I love it. I'll sign right now. Meeting adjourned. It's over. The meeting's over, right? It's great. Yay, Yay. Yay, exactly. Well, the matches never took place. And why was that? So the meeting's adjourned, everything's agreed, and they go to the buffet table where they got the croissants and jams and coffee and cheeses and whatnot. And it was the COO, I believe, the Chief Operating Officer. He turns to Kirsan and says, well, Kirsan, where do you live? He says, well, I live in Elista. Where's that? Kalmykia and Republic and so on. But I don't really live there. I really live in Moscow, at the Kalmykian embassy in Moscow. He says, oh, so you're coming from Moscow? And he goes, no. 24 hours ago, I was in Baghdad. And the whole room goes quiet, right? He goes, what? He says, yeah, 24 hours ago, I was meeting with His Excellency Saddam Hussein, and we're talking about scholastics chess in schools in Iraq. And this is literally 24 hours before the invasion. of Iraq. That was March 2003. And the guy looks at Kherson and he says, I sincerely apologize. I've wasted your time. I've wasted your time. HSBC cannot support chess when you're making dealings with Saddam Hussein. You know, like, you know, seppuku, give me the knife to kill myself. I couldn't believe it. This was a layup. This was a layup, Eric. If the guy had, in fact, come from Moscow and not Baghdad, it would have all gone swimmingly. You're holding your head in your hands, but trust me, I was doing the same thing, even worse. I was like, ah.
Well, yeah, you set the things up. I mean, it looks, they're like, you
It's a
feel awful
layup.
about that. Like, yeah, Yasser, you're setting us up with this. I mean, it doesn't look good on you, but it's just such a, oh,
Right,
that's like a, out of a movie, Yasser.
right.
It's
No,
like
it
out
was
of
like
the
the
National
worst.
Enquirer magazine. It's out of one of those tabloids. That's what it
Right,
sounds like. Chess
right.
president caught in bed with Saddam, something like that. You know,
Exactly.
it doesn't sound real.
But the weird part too is following that meeting with Philip and HSBC, later Kersen gave interviews where, he was, personally proud of the fact that literally 24 hours before the invasion, he was talking with Saddam and his son,
His
who
sons,
was like
yes.
the minister of sport or something. I was like, oh. And there's an example of where I think at times that FIDE sabotages the world of the World Championship cycle. Go. Bad story, huh? Terrible.
That can give nightmares for a very long time.
By the way, on a completely different note, in the Isle of Man, I think it's somewhat hilarious. God has a sense of humor and a sense of irony. Uh, Hu Yifan, who is retired from women's world championship chess cycle, is now going to play, I think, her third or what round are you in over there?
Fourth Yasser.
You're her fourth lady
Fourth
in a row.
lady.
I
Yeah.
mean, what are the odds when you look at Gibraltar and what happened there, and you look at the Isle of Man? What are the odds that she would play that many women opponents? It's 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 got to be 1,000,000 to 1.
Yeah, no, it's comical, but I can tell you she's playing the game out. I saw a photo just now that
Okay.
she's playing it out, but I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, so apparently they ran it through the programs twice, some sort of karma, some sort of irony. But yeah, what are the odds?
What are the odds? It got to be huge. Got to be huge. All right, Eric. Well, I'll let you enjoy the Isle of Man. I thank again our audience for staying with us and enjoying our stream. We will be back tomorrow at the same starting time for the tie breaks, what should be a very exciting one. And we'll wish you all a very good day. And thank you for all your support, for subscribing, for donating, and just being here.
Yeah, so thanks for the story time. Thanks for the
Sure.
commentary. Uh, get better. We're all
Yes.
sending our good wishes towards you and the tea
And the
and
honey.
yes, and the honey. May you sleep well, rest
Thank
well.
you.
Don't think too much about that story you just told us.
Uh,
That'll cause some restlessness, I imagine.
oh,
But
it already has. Fortunately, I've made peace with it. But I could tell you a lot more stories than just that one of where, I just shocked by
but that's one
failures, lots
that
of
one that would
failures.
that's one like anyone can relate to. They understand the
Yeah,
magnitude of the lack of common sense and also just the connections chess is associated with. Dig a
exactly.
little deeper.
Right. All right. Well, we'll save that for more story time. And in the meantime, everyone, I wish you a very, very good day.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Bye
See you
bye,
tomorrow.
Eric.